Welcome, foolish mortals, to another chat-filled Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We have very special guests with us, Mr. Sith Bear, Care Bear himself, Josh. How you doing, Josh?
Excellent, excellent. Happy to be here. Thank you,
Good,
Chris.
good. Um, do anything good over the weekend?
Worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did have fun recording a podcast with the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast on Sunday night. And that was kind of fun. We talked about the Joker for a while, just kind of all the incarnations. That was pretty neat. So that was, I would say, the highlight of my weekend. Otherwise, it was pretty much just nonstop work.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Hey,
So
John.
I'll have to go back and watch that at some point. But as a spoiler, what's your favorite Joker?
I mean, it's a tough question. It really is. All of them are near and dear to me for different reasons. I feel like Cesar Romero's Joker from the Adam West series is what introduced me to the character, and it will always be kind of my mental image of how the Joker should look to a certain extent. And I feel like all the different incarnations have kind of captured different attributes of the character. I think that the Mark Hamill version on Batman the Animated Series probably is the most well-rounded as far as being maniacal, being sinister, being just insane, being wacky and silly. So you get a little bit of everything from that particular version. But as far as like a live action rendition, I mean, there's the big argument about Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix. I think that Heath Ledger's Joker was fantastic in the Batman reality, whereas Joaquin's Joker is not so much about the character of the Joker. It's more about a man who just has a bad day or a few bad days, and it leads him to the brink, and what can happen if you step over the edge, so to speak. That's why the film's called Joker, not the Joker. It just happens to be set in Gotham. It could easily have been New York City. They easily could have cut out any of the Thomas Wayne stuff. They could have had it just be some other New York socialite. And it could have been completely reality based.
I actually think
had no
that was
connection.
one of the downfalls of that movie. Was the whole. I loved that movie. I don't watch it very often because it's very heavy.
It is,
but the whole Thomas Wayne bit, I think, could have been ditched.
Yeah.
And it didn't need to have Batman in it. It didn't need to have that whole subplot of he's my stepdad or daddy or whatever. Isn't he? That I think it actually would have been stronger without that bit.
Yeah, I agree.
It could have just been anybody, any socialite, like you said.
Yeah.
But
it didn't have to be specific. But it was very much just witnessing a path into madness and a giant commentary on the failings of the mental health institution, and how even those that seek help don't really get it. I love the scene when the social worker tells him, hey, we're underfunded, we can't help you anymore, and she's just like, hey, it is what it is. Sorry, they don't really. They're kind of apathetic because the reality of it is they're kind of stuck in the middle, and there's nothing they could do about it one way or the other.
She was losing her job too.
Yeah, exactly.
Gone. What up, Sleeping?
Yeah, everyone was a victim. Hey, Sleeping. You're the sexy one. Oh, Paul. Speaking of sexy, right there.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to pick a favorite. Heath Ledger was just so fantastic, but that was very much a Batman reality Joker. That Joker was contingent upon being around Batman and dealing with all of that. And I think my final thoughts on the podcast were basically the world's a better place with the Joker, because I think that there's a kinship that we all find in him, and that's why he's so popular as a villain, because even though he is a terrible person in so many levels, we can all kind of relate somehow. We've all sort of been there. We've all had that moment where we wanted to just throw it all out the door and forget about the expectations that are thrust upon all of us by everyone else and ourselves, and just throw caution to the wind and bring a little chaos into the order.
Yeah, I think that was part of the fear behind the Joker, was that they really thought people, say my age or so, would go see it and be like, yeah, that's right, society's horrible and evil, and we'd all run out into the streets and burn things and whatever. But I do relate more to this Joker than any of the others. My favorite's probably always going to be Mark Hamill, because like you said, he had more stuff to do. He's more rounded.
I mean, they had more time to develop the character, obviously, but I mean, that entire series was just such a masterpiece.
But Joaquin's Joker, I could see bits of myself in, which actually scared me halfway through the movie. Of, man, I do have some issues I need to work on.
Yeah, it's a little unsettling. It really is. And that's powerful filmmaking, especially from the guy that made The Hangovers.
Yeah. I mean, when they first announced it, I was like, what? And then that first image of Joaquin in the makeup. Yeah, I was like, what is this? This movie does not need to be made.
Well, no,
we're not.
I was excited.
For this. And then once I was done, I was like, they must never make a sequel to this. No. This is a perfect film.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that too. And it really is. I feel like anything that they try to do to continue that story would detract from where it began.
Because it couldn't really go anywhere, because Bruce is still 12 or whatever. So if they did some sort of weird time jump where he's 18 now or something,
they could do that. They could also maybe have Joker sort of take Bruce under his wing to a certain extent. Maybe have rework the story in such a way where his older brother Joker is also kind of a major catalyst and driving force in the creation of Batman. I mean, they've already kind of blamed the death of his parents on Joker at this point, so why not kick it in a little bit further? So I mean, that could be a direction to go with it, but again, it would have to be really powerful stuff, and I do believe that Joaquin wouldn't even touch it if it weren't that caliber. But so if he is attached to it, I am hopeful. But I know they've murmured that they want to do a sequel, and I know they love seeing those billions. But at the same time,
the movie cost what, like $35 million to make?
Yeah, it's dirt cheap. I mean, it's so simple,
and made literally $1 billion.
Yeah. I mean, and it's hard to walk away from that, but at the same time, there's got to be a balance between the art and the business of it. I mean, there just has to be, and we're at the point where I think the audience is fed up with the business being the driving force. I think that's why box office numbers aren't really what they are. I think it's a lot less, what they're blaming it on as far as what's going on out there, and more about people just not wanting to make that effort to rush out to the movies anymore, because they feel like they're just helping to grease the gears of a well-oiled machine. It's not about the art anymore. There are those few films that are. Like, I feel Joker definitely was about the art, and I don't think Warner Brothers would have taken the risk had it not been so cheap to make. But I'm glad that they did.
Yeah, and they have the Batman coming. They don't need. Yeah. They don't need this eventually.
No. How do you feel about the Batman?
Until next summer? Did that get pushed back to next summer now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it is definitely next year.
I don't know how I feel yet. That first trailer was okay, but they're trying to make him John Wick or something, and he's... I like the thinking Batman. Yeah. As much as they run around punch people in the face, Batman.
He's the world's greatest detective, and that's what I want to see. I want to see that. I want to see Batman being a detective, looking for clues. That's what I enjoyed about playing like the Arkham games and things, is actually having to follow clues and figure things out, because ultimately that's what he's there to do, not just beat the hell out of people.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hey, Mike.
Brandon, what's up? Oh, I heard
Salacious.
there was one of those on
Oh.
earlier, but YouTube removed it for some reason. I can't find it anymore. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's what I actually liked about. Now, I hated Batman versus Superman, like most people, but the extended version where it showed Batman being a detective, where it showed Clark actually being a
Being a
reporter.
reporter, yeah.
Same with Lois. It was like,
Yeah.
wait, this is
Really
where
added
the
a
plot
lot.
was.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that much better.
Yeah.
Now, it still should have ended before the whole Doomsday. That whole bit should have just not existed. You could have cut the last half hour out of that movie, and it still would have been good.
Yeah.
But it's stupid tags.
Well, Snyder wanted that Doomsday set up to lead into his Justice League that we eventually finally got.
Yeah, that was I don't know. That was just an extra hour I didn't need to see in JLA. It was. I liked the story bits with Cyborg.
No, I feel like they made his character kind of the main focus as it was supposed to be.
Yeah, and of course, we're never going to see that movie. That'll never come now.
That's done.
Flashpoint is what 2 years behind now, and still barely shooting.
Yeah, I don't really even know. I'm sure that they've done so many rewrites on it at this point. It's almost impossible for them to really say it's in production.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're shooting stuff, but I mean, you don't get a lot. That's kind of, I do like that. In the age of the internet, it's nice not to know some things for a change. Riddler, yeah. I still say something like The Long Halloween could be turned into a good live action, but now they've done that as a 2-part animated movie.
Yeah. Well, and supposedly that's going to be a heavy influence for the Batman story that they're telling. And I am excited to see the Riddler in it more and actually forcing Batman to be that detective. I mean, that's kind of one of the best characters for that sort of story. So,
yeah, I would like more of a animated series Riddler. I think the Batman Forever Riddler just went way over the edge,
over the top,
way too far.
It was just campy and silly.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, I get that he was kind of, I think, trying to harken back to the Adam West Riddler, but I don't. It didn't come off right to me. It just seemed very overacted, and I honestly felt like Jim Carrey was capable of more.
And at the beginning, when he was just Edward Nygma, I thought we saw that.
Yeah.
And then he kind of morphed a little bit, and then I didn't believe any of the rest of it. The rest was all like, what? No. Okay, I guess.
Yeah.
And then Tommy Lee Jones was just kind of pushed to the back of the screen.
That was just a waste of a great actor is what that was.
Yeah.
I mean, and a great character.
Yeah.
I mean, Two-Face needed a movie.
June or July next year for Batman?
I think it's June. I'm not sure. I can check real quick. But yeah, it's I feel like
it's summerish.
Yeah. Let's see. Batman, yeah, it just says 2022.
Hey, Rolando, how you doing?
March 4th.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
So that goes. Is that up against Doctor Strange then?
Yeah.
Ew, that's dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
They should move it to April when there isn't anything really yet. I mean, we have a Marvel movie every other month.
Yeah.
For the next year.
Well, I don't know. That could change because Sony is supposedly looking at moving Venom 2 and the new Spider-Man.
Really?
Yeah. And there's a lot of theory that Disney's kind of forcing Sony into a situation where they're going to take a hit on those movies and have to release them because Disney, now that they've officially brought Venom into, well, I guess maybe not officially, but they've stated that Venom and Morbius and all that are going to be part of the MCU somehow. And because Spider-Man 3 is going to tie so heavy into the multiverse, they have to be released in sequence with the other films. Doctor Strange can't come before; it has to come after. And a lot of people theorize that Disney's kind of forcing Sony's hand and making them release those films during times when they won't do as well, because Disney can afford to take the hit. Sony can't. They have those few properties that are going to make big money for them to keep the studio going. Everything else is just kind of subpar. And so, yeah, the theory is that Disney's kind of forcing them to have to sell cheap, and not so much because Disney wants to buy Sony, but because if Sony sells, the rights to those characters revert back to Marvel. So they could get them without even having to buy them. They would just automatically come back for free. So we'll see what happens.
By now, it would be almost hard to move Venom, because it comes out in like 3 weeks.
They've already, I know, changed the date somewhere overseas. I think they pushed it off to like October 10th or something like that. So,
geez.
Yeah.
Well, they can't do October because that's Dune. You have to be very careful, because then you can't go into November because that's Ghostbusters and James Bond.
Yeah, but as far as any of the Warner Brothers stuff, it's all done, because they've already agreed to release their entire film slate for the year on HBO Max, and I think the grosses for Suicide Squad illustrate that Warner Brothers isn't really going to be competition in the box office, so I don't really think they'd have to worry about that. As much as I'm excited for Dune, I don't think it's going to make big money. Suicide Squad should have done much better. It was much more enjoyable film. I've watched it
almost everybody
now.
I know watched it on HBO Max.
Exactly.
And so they didn't go to the theater, which I have a friend he's a manager for AMC. And he was so mad after Black Widow did well and then crashed.
Yeah.
Like,
it tanked.
Yeah, and it's like, well, why would you, when I can take me and say my wife and 3 kids or whatever to the movie once for $50 or $60, or I can buy it on Disney and we can watch it at home for as long as we want.
Yeah, and $50 or $60 is just to get in the door. That doesn't even count if you buy food.
Exactly.
So yeah, I get it, but at the same time, it's still one of the few semi-affordable recreations that people can go out and do. I mean, going to a sporting event or a concert is considerably more expensive, even in the concessions department. So, I mean, there's still a market for it. I don't think the movies are going to go away, but they need to find a better balance with what they're doing with the streaming networks. And I think the studios realize that too, because they're not making the money that they were making either. And when you've got everybody coming out of the woodwork to sue the studios, thanks to the example that Scarlett Johansson's setting, which, I mean, if they broke contract, they broke contract. I get it. I mean, it's business. Business is business. It's an industry. It's not just a charity or, the local players. So yeah, I understand that, but at the same time, it's creating a precedence, and now everyone, apparently Emma Stone's going to be filing suit as well because of what happened with Cruella, and part of that I think is because Disney maybe didn't handle some of that as well as they should have, and Warner Brothers didn't either. They did fairly well with the Wonder Woman 84 release, but that's because they thought it was going to be a one-off and that we would just get through the holidays and be done. And then of the year they'd be back.
They threw like $10 million at Patty and at Gal.
Exactly.
But
so
here
they basically paid them off.
Yeah, and paid them off.
But they didn't do that deal for all the other film slate that was set to release for this year.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you think about like the actors from Suicide Squad and whatnot, I'm sure they're all taking a hit to a certain extent. And Dune, I'm certain, is going to take a hit.
Well, Dune, I kind of agree with Sleeping. Dune isn't a property that anybody is really looking for to be made into anything.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers the 80s version, and that was, I mean, they always called Dune unfilmable. That it's basically an unfilmable book. And the trailer looks really pretty good.
Yeah.
But, it's been...
Well, it's a very cerebral story. It's hard to kind of really capture that in imagery.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see how much of, if it's just like kind of part of the first book, or they're going to do. I always thought Dune would work better as an HBO series like Game of Thrones.
My understanding is that the director pitched it as 3 films. I think they may have settled on 2. Is the last news that I heard about that, but I do believe it is going to be multiple movies, which is still better than nothing. But I agree with you. I think a series would be a much better way to flesh out that story, especially if you wanted to do the other books.
I didn't used to think that way. I used to always I love the movies. I when we were younger, we'd go to at least 2 movies every Friday, if not something on Wednesday. We caught almost every new movie as it came out. And then as I've gotten older, I just wane off that to the point where now stories can't be told properly in their 1.5 to 2 hour format where we're looking to make a sequel.
Yeah.
You can't just make, you just can't make a movie. You have to it has to be the next franchise. It has to be the next MCU.
It's not a singular story. Dino. Hey, Dino. It's not a singular story. It's more of just a setup, and then the next is a setup, and the next is a setup, and to a certain extent, Marvel is kind of a victim of that too. It has gotten to where it feels a little formulaic, and that was part of what I've enjoyed about the Disney Plus series, particularly WandaVision, was I felt like it kind of broke the mold on that to a certain extent, and kind of experimented a little bit more with the storytelling process within that same universe. But I mean, at the same time, like, I understand not coming out to the movies. Like, there's the production value of what you get out of television now is astronomical compared to what we grew up with.
Well, especially if it's getting cheaper and cheaper, and something like what the Mandalorian can do.
Oh yeah.
And you don't even have to go on set anymore. And like you were saying with the MCU, what's nice is every MCU movie seemed to be slightly different. It used to be something like Civil War was kind of a spy thriller, and but eventually you run out of those.
You run out of genres,
and
start to repeat yourself.
Yeah, and that's I hope that's what they're kind of hitting a reset button with Phase 4.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to the next movie I see in the theater will be Shang-Chi. I do want to see that. I completely have skipped Black Widow so far.
Really?
I haven't had the time, and I'm not going to pay $30 for it when I know it's going to be free in September.
Yeah, no, I get that. If you're not in a hurry to see it, I liked it. But again, it's something they've done before. To me, it felt very Winter Soldier. It was a spy thriller, as it should be. I mean, that's what she is. It definitely had kind of a Mission Impossible vibe at certain times.
That's what I got out of the trailers. It was kind of like a Mission Impossible flick.
And that's appropriate. But I think a lot of its failing is just that after we've built up to Endgame and all of that, like, it seems substandard as far as the presentation. We've been there, done that. We want something that wows us from the MCU, and I don't think that really did it for a lot of people, even though I thought it was very well crafted and enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I think so too. The John's talking about Dune, and I think of how easy it would be to do a Dune series inside the sets of the Mandalorian.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think it's. I'm not going to say the end of the $1 billion blockbuster is kind of over, but as long as they keep this format where somebody like me knows that if I just wait 60 days, now I can get it for free. I'm not going to go see every movie in the theater anymore. There are movies I still need to see in theaters. I need to see Star Wars movies in theater.
Yeah.
I need
if we ever get any more.
I need to see James Bond movies in theaters.
Yeah.
I need to see Indiana Jones movies in theaters. But Marvel movies, I can almost do TV for.
Okay.
I have a decent sized TV, and if it's not like prequels, just don't do it for me.
Yeah.
So, and this was an in-between-quel.
Yeah, it was.
Like,
I like that term.
MCU, what, this would have been the 11th movie? It's dropped in the center. Movie 23 is now movie 11.
Yeah.
And
it was very after the fact. It certainly should have been released when it actually took place.
Yeah.
Would have been a much more exciting film for everyone, I think. And would have added to the build up to what came after. But instead now it just is what it is. I felt like there is an end credit scene, but it does feel very tacked on just in order to try to make it more relevant to things that are happening now.
Yeah, to make it connected to Cap and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, well,
they kind of have been doing that, and I don't like them, The Boys. And it's that other one where the superheroes are just assholes and kill everybody and something else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's really so much horror as it just is violent superhero storytelling.
What was the one where there's like the Superman who's evil?
That
Brightburn. Brightburn. Yeah. That's it. That looked like an interesting little film. I own it. I just have never gotten around to watching it.
It's not bad. It feels like there should have been more to it.
No.
So I don't know if that was budget restraints or maybe they had intended for it to do well enough for a sequel and it just didn't happen. It does kind of open some things up at the end, but it's worth a watch, I would say. But like, I mean, what Sleeping's saying, I'd love to see some more horror type stuff like Ghost Rider, or I mean, they are making Blade because I loved the
Midnight Suns.
Yeah.
If they would do that and then cross over into Midnight Suns, that would be cool.
That would be epic. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, they've got Morbius, and I mean, why not just blend all of that together? Well, I'm hoping that Morbius is more on that horror side. It should be. I mean, he's a vampire.
Yeah, it definitely should be. And since we've seen the trailer, we know it's part of the MCU.
Yeah.
Because at the end, he runs into Michael Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not sure how they're going to explain Venom in the MCU.
Yeah. Well, I know that in the sequel, I believe he's moved to New York now.
There you go.
And I think he's working for the Bugle. So I think they're building to that somehow.
Which that trailer looked pretty good. I thought they just relied a little too much on the fight between the two of them.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to see Woody Harrelson with hair again.
It looks a little odd, actually.
It looks weird.
It does. It's been so
now
long.
All I can do when I watch that is be like, was he able to grow hair? Is that a wig?
Was that a wig?
It's a great wig.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. No,
because it's got the fade up the side and all. It's like, wow, that's
really...
But
it looks much better than that like curly thing that they had going on at the end of the first film.
Yeah.
He looks much more normal. But I mean, I'm excited for it. It's definitely a fun character. They could do some dark stuff with it, but again, like it's hard to really properly do a character like Carnage and not have that R rating.
Yeah.
And that's a really fine line that we walk, because I mean, comics can push that envelope a lot further on the page than they can translating it to the screen without getting slapped with that R rating, which then cuts into the revenue stream, and the studios want to try to avoid that. But then it ends up weakening the product that we're getting, and the people that want to see it, the fans, are disappointed, and it kills the grosses for them.
Yeah.
So it's really hard.
Kind of, we had that kind of backlash after Deadpool, and then Deadpool, Joker, and Wolverine. Old Man Wolverine were all rated R's and did a pretty good box office.
Yeah.
But then everybody seemed to be stepping back again.
Yeah.
And trying to be safe, because with that which must not be named hurting everybody's bottom line so much, now they have to spread it to the biggest audience possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of, I think you're right. I think it hurts. Not only waters down the script ability, but it waters down the characters. Hey, Blue, what's up?
Hey, Blue. Yeah, I mean, it does. every Wolverine movie should have been rated R. Come on,
Yes.
the guy has claws that cut through anything. There's going to be blood and gore and limbs lost.
And then when you go to the X-Men, you can do your little PG-13 or PG, whatever you want.
Which is what they're supposed to be doing with Deadpool going forward, since they're bringing him into the MCU, is letting his movies still be the R rating. And then, you can still drop an F-bomb in a PG-13 movie, so they'll let him be the one that, maybe even make a joke out of it in one of the movies, have someone else drop the F-bomb, then he gets offended because he didn't get to say it. It's like, hey, that's in my contract.
It would be funny if they go along and suddenly he hits that magic word number. And then next time he uses it audibly beeps in the movie.
Yeah.
But he's the only one who hears
it. Yeah.
and he's like, what? And they're like, what? Did you hear that?
genius.
How dare those beep, beep, beep. And somebody could be there being
language. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that would be epic.
And a lot of people I know really liked it. I just haven't gotten to it. It was something I wanted to see so badly, and then a year went by and I just didn't care anymore.
Yeah. No, I liked it well enough to buy all of the figs for it, actually.
Well, I should have bought those Marvel Legends back when they came out, and resold them now when they were on clearance.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
No one was buying it then.
Invincible. Yeah, that's a good one.
I did like Invincible. Did you see Jupiter's Legacy?
I haven't yet. I am so far behind in shows. It's sad.
Yeah, I am.
I still haven't finished Supernatural. I haven't finished Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was good.
I need to get to those. I didn't watch Captain and Winter Soldier.
Oh wow!
I haven't seen an episode of it yet.
I liked it,
but I now work so much, and then I come home and do this or something, or I don't get home. If I get home at 6, I need to be in bed by 9 because I got to be up by 5, and so I don't want to watch something that's going to get me hyped up or something I'm going to be like, okay, one more episode, one more, and they blocked all those things at work, so I can't even listen to them in the background anymore.
Oh man.
But so I'm really far behind, and it annoys me the amount of TV I'm behind. But I'm caught up on the Bad Batch, and I'm caught up on Transformers now.
Yeah.
I just need to start Kingdom now.
Okay, so you haven't watched Kingdom yet?
I haven't watched Kingdom yet.
Yeah, it's
thankfully those are only 6 episodes long.
Yeah, that it's
in an hour and a half. I can
they're short.
The whole series.
Absolutely. So how are you feeling about Bad Batch?
I have always pretty much liked the Bad Batch. It felt very side questy to me. Like somehow these were all episodes that were supposed to be dotted throughout a full season 7 of Clone Wars.
Yeah. Oh, it's totally, an extension of season 7.
Yeah.
And they made it pretty obvious from the first episode.
This episode marks the end of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
For me.
Absolutely. The destruction of
Kamino and the end of the clones and whatever happened with them, because it's very ambiguous about whether they just slaughtered them all. Or
it really is. Yeah. I've said it from the beginning that I thought that they would, that would happen, that they would get rid of the clone banks and that they would kill off the clones, because we don't see any of them anywhere. Like they're just gone.
That we know of.
No, that we know of. Yeah.
That's the thing is since all the stormtroopers wear helmets, we don't actually know what any of them.
How many of them may have actually been clones?
Yeah, because we know, now that they retconned it, we know that Rex is at the Battle of Endor.
Yeah.
So there could have been a lot of clones that stayed true to the Empire.
Yeah. That
they kind of were like, I don't have anywhere else to go, and so I'm here. I did, however, think that something was going to go wrong with their chip, and all their chips would turn off. Because remember at the first couple episodes, Tech was working on something to counteract the chip.
Yeah.
And I thought they'd counteract the chip and then they'd rebel and then the Empire would wipe them out.
It could still happen.
And it still could happen. But I think that the whole ambiguity of, we need the scientists, politicians, I don't need.
Yeah.
And then he walks out of the room and you're like, oh, well, Llama Stew's dead. Next.
Yeah, that dude's done.
That dude's done. And what use would the Empire have for all those baby clones?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's disturbing in a finally you see real evil out of the Empire in this show. Up until this point, I've always said they're nothing but the British Empire.
Yeah.
They come in, they take over, they tax you, they make you get papers, but they're not really evil. They're just jerks. Well, now this is, this shows what they're capable of finally.
Yeah.
And what everybody's scared of.
No, absolutely. And I mean, it's been hinting at it for a minute. And it was oddly nice to see them cross that line. Because it needed to happen. Otherwise it was just like you said, they were just kind of coming in like they might as well just be Roman tax collectors or something. They weren't really this vicious entity. It just kind of makes you wonder. It's like, why did they really care so much? And
why did they care about the Bad Batch at all?
Yeah,
one of the questions I asked on Brandon's show was, why do they even care about these 5 guys? They're not even doing anything. But then once they attacked that mining facility and they made themselves a target, and they pissed off that one dude, Vice Admiral, whatever his name is, Vice Admiral. He's the character we're getting a Black Series figure of, and not Omega.
Rampart. Yeah.
Rampart. That's it. I love their names. Yeah, and they loaded. It says they loaded, and it's weird that they took. But where are they going?
Yeah. I think that they did kind of touch on that. They just said that they'd been moved off world. That's all. Yeah, it didn't really say where they were taking them.
That's true too. And so there could still be like uses for them. Like they could be, you could send them to Star Wars's version of the Hadrian Wall.
Well, do they age faster, or was it not just accelerated growth to a certain age point and then it slowed down?
I don't know.
Because otherwise Rex would not be alive by the time they got to Jedi.
Maybe they age to like 25 and then go back to normal.
That's what I think. It's what it feels like, is that they age basically up to roughly the age that Jango was when he first started the whole thing. And
they can't be
just after episode 1.
They must age faster than that, because Omega said she was there when 99 was created.
Yeah.
And so she was there before the Bad Batch was created.
Well, I mean, but she's only
12
like
or
Boba.
13.
She's also just like Boba. And I mean, when exactly was that batch created? I mean, it is 99, so I don't know how often they create batches.
Well, the Bad Batch, it'd be interesting to see, because of course it's only been 3 years.
Yeah.
The Clone Wars were only 3 years long.
Yeah.
So they would have had.
But the clones they began the cloning process just after episode 1, which was 10 years earlier.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see. But those clones can't be that old if Omega interacted and saw them being created.
Well, she just said she was there. She could have been in a pod herself being created.
That's true. I assume she meant that she was still her assistant at that time.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's not really clear.
Because then if she was there in episode 2, which was 4 years ago, I'm done with this.
Do it.
And it's off.
All right.
Then Jango should know her, because she had free reign to wander around Kamino.
Yeah.
So Jango would have run into her at some point, and so would have Boba.
No, they may have. I mean, that lab was secret from everyone, though. Maybe that's where they kept her most of the time until after all of that happened. Plus, she was obviously made after Boba because he's older at this point. Like he's
it looks like he's about a year or so older.
Yeah, a little bit older. But it makes sense that she would have come after because she's obviously the genetics have been altered some with her. She's not just an exact clone of Jango, otherwise she wouldn't be a she.
Yeah, Left Coast is right. Omega and Boba are older than the Bad Batch.
Brother, yeah.
But it's hard to tell how. It's one of those things where you need a comic book series for. Omega.
Yeah. Well, a comic book series that they don't decide to rewrite later whenever they run out of other material to put on the screen.
Well, I know that a lot of people are mad about that for the Kanan thing.
Yeah.
And I get that, but my excuse for that whole thing and the rewriting of the Ahsoka book a little bit and stuff is he didn't know he was going to do this series. He didn't know he was going to get season 7 out.
And I don't mind that they're doing it. The only reason that it frustrates me at all is just that Disney made such a huge deal. Lucasfilm made such a huge deal about how they were just, starting clean and everything was going to matter. Everything was canon. Every little scrap of any material that came out was part of the story, and that was supposed to be the driving force to get all of us on board for all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got all these damn comic books and books, and now it's like, well, I could have just waited and gotten the real story. So I can see how people
which story is real. You'll find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our point of view.
Yeah, or like
I use that line in every one of these arguments because I'm like, who's telling this story?
Well, I mean, they had Ahsoka say the one line in Rebels where she says, there's always some truth in legends, which was basically their way of saying, yeah, we're going to cherry pick everything and just kind of make it all a hodgepodge of what we want to.
Because
it was very tongue-in-cheek.
Most of Legends, I loved Legends, and I was mad that old EU was removed. I understood
wonderful stories. I got it, but
at the end, old EU got crazy. At the end,
a little bit crazy, yeah.
Kind of, and it's like, okay, I'm done now. That's nuts. Can we go back and do some other stuff?
Yeah.
And when they had to jump so far ahead with Force Awakens, I understood that all that had to be
kind of swept
put aside.
Yeah.
But this whole thing that everything means something, I have read a dozen or so of the new Star Wars comics. I have hundreds I'm behind on.
Yeah.
I've never read an issue of Dr. Aphra. I've never read an issue of Darth Vader. I've never read an issue of the Kanan series. I've read a few issues of the main Star Wars title.
Yeah.
And I've read a few issues of this new bounty hunter thing that's going on.
The Vader is probably the best for me, personally.
And that's what everybody says is Vader is the best written.
Yeah.
And gives you more insight into how he thinks. And I don't necessarily need Anakin to be rewritten.
Yeah.
So that we see that he's always been fighting this battle within him. So see, he's just like Kylo. He had the light pulling on him too.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily need that. I do randomly need him to just go berserk and kill everybody around him because that's the anger Anakin already had.
No, I think you need to see both sides. I think that duality is what made the character.
Yeah. So I do need to catch up on all those. I just, again, I keep saying I'm going to take, I have a long box of Star Wars issues I haven't read yet. I'm like, one day when I have nothing to do at Saturday on work, I'm going to take it with me and read it. And then I forget.
Yeah. I do the same thing. I don't even want to talk about how many comics I own and have not read. So it's sad.
Well, and it's just not Star Wars. I'm behind on Star Trek, on Transformers. And I'm like, but once Star Wars started feeling like homework for me, I stopped caring. When I felt like I needed to read the books in order to understand what was going on in their movies, I didn't care anymore.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys like me who just we'll get your television shows, we'll watch that, we'll buy your comic, but don't necessarily think we're going to read it, and we might play your video game.
Yeah.
But I don't have time for all these novels. I don't have time for the High Republic. There's too many books, between the main books and the young reader books, and there's too much to try and read. So give me a Wikipedia entry for it,
Yeah.
or start a new series, Star Wars Cliff Notes, and
That'd be good.
Books, just Cliff Notes of them.
Yeah, so people can catch up quickly.
Yeah, and I just need to catch up before the next movie. That's all I need.
Yeah.
What do I need to
But
understand?
you shouldn't have to. I mean, the movie should stand on its own. That's good storytelling.
Yeah. Well, and like with the Cassian series coming out, I'm interested in that because I don't really care about Cassian at all. He's dead. I don't care.
Yeah.
But because they didn't make me care about any of those characters, because they all died, so who cares?
Yeah.
But I am interested in that time period, because he was a separatist. His family was separatists. At the time of the Bad Batch, he's somewhere around 3 or 4. So I want to see more of the rise of the Empire, and I want to see how a separatist becomes a rebellion fighter, and how he seems to be in charge of a spy network.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd like to see, is a Star Wars spy show.
That could be good.
And, kind of like a Mission Impossible show in a way, but not quite that crazy. Where they're running out, they're doing stuff for the Republic. And that's kind of what I wanted from the Bad Batch. Honestly, all I wanted from the Bad Batch was the A-Team.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, like with the spy show, we could finally get insight into that network of Bothan spies that they always reference, many of which apparently died. We could definitely get something there. There's definitely stories to be told there. I'm all for anything that's going to expand on that universe. It shouldn't just be about the characters. To me, it's about the world of Star Wars. So, don't focus it so much on one individual. That's what I kind of like about The Mandalorian is it has the ability to go wherever it wants to. I've said from the beginning that I don't think that The Mandalorian is necessarily referring to Din Djarin specifically. I think it's referring to just the Mandalorian people. And I think that the story is going to, as they've introduced more and more characters, it's going to go all different directions. And I'm excited for what they're doing with that.
Hey, John.
Hey, John.
We've kind of talked about off and on about the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. I'm kind of hoping the Book of Boba Fett turns into more of the Man with No Name series from Clint Eastwood, where you have Boba Fett. I would be okay with all of Book of Boba Fett being a prequel to the Mandalorian, and it's just Boba Fett wandering the desert.
Just kind of fill in that gap between Jedi and
running into the town and whatever, and I'd be okay with that. Like clearly Mandalorian is Wolf and Cub. I would love this to be the Man with No Name.
Yeah,
and I would like the Lando series to be Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, where you have old Lando in a bar telling a story, and it would be one of the first series where the narrator you can't believe a word he says.
Yeah.
Because he's telling the story and he wants to make himself, he's Lando.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to make himself look good.
Build himself up.
To Glover being young Lando doing stuff. And, randomly somebody on the side will be like, wait a minute, Lando, I was there. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember it being like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that would be great.
I would love that. And I don't know if I only fear that they fear that Billy D is too old to do all the bumpers.
I could see that.
But especially if that show's not going to just be a one series wonder.
Yeah.
And as the Bad Batch went along, I knew it wasn't going to be one season.
Oh no.
And too much story it's only 5 episodes left. How can they wrap all this up? They're not going to.
No,
it's an animated show.
No way surprised about that announcement for season 2.
Yeah, I'm like, how are you surprised? By now, there has to be at least 6 episodes of season 2 done.
No, I mean the structure of the storytelling is, I mean, it's identical to Clone Wars and to Rebels. I mean, you've got some episodes that progress the overall plot, other episodes are just character development, others are just kind of fun filler, and you don't put in all that fat in between if you don't have enough meat to spread out to something more than just 15 episodes.
Yeah,
There was just no way that was going to be the case.
I will admit there were a couple episodes in there that were like, is this out of order?
Mhm.
Have they shown this episode doesn't belong here? Like that whole one with the mobster guy,
Mhm.
the Devillian,
The one that
that
took
was
over,
out of
yeah.
place. I was like, this episode doesn't belong here. This should have been before all the Rex stuff happened,
Yeah.
or later. It just seemed like a real filler episode.
It did, yeah. And I mean, that wouldn't have even made it to the storyboard if they were only going to do 15 episodes.
Exactly. So I've heard this theory a lot, that Omega is actually the armorer, which would kind
That
of
would
be
be
cool.
really cool. Yeah,
I
could see it.
It would be interesting to see how that progresses.
But I mean, I don't know. I couldn't see it just because there's obviously some disdain for the clones. You see the way that Bo-Katan and her people acted towards Boba.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and she goes out of her way to say that Jango wasn't a Mandalorian.
A real Mandalorian. Yeah, exactly.
Well, then it becomes, what is a Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Then don't kidnap children out of the middle of battlefields and raise them to be your own.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems to me like anyone could be a Mandalorian, but I feel like that bitterness towards the clones is, well, I mean, obviously from her, it has to do with being a part of the Clone Wars, but I think that there's more to it than that. I think that it ties more into Jango's backstory. Maybe there's what he did with the cloning was considered somehow shameful by his people.
Yeah.
I would like to see some of that in Book of Boba. Is maybe some more information about Jango. Like, I loved seeing in that first episode when Boba introduces himself to Din Djarin, like I loved hearing him talk about being Jango's son, and it was kind of cool having that connection between the two. Sort of concreted the character a little bit more in the annals of Star Wars.
Yeah, and John's right. I loved how Mandalorian has evolved, and I'm not sure where season 3 will go, because
I think we'll have a big time jump.
I don't know. We can't have that big of a time jump, because remember, the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka, and the Raiders of the Republic or Rangers of the Republic are all supposed to merge in one film type thing. So we can't jump too far ahead.
Well, I've heard that Rangers may not even happen now.
Well, and it might be easy to remove them, or you just change the main character.
Yeah.
I mean, it could, God forbid, we have a Star Wars thing that doesn't involve someone we already know.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about The Mandalorian, was while it's in the Star Wars world, we don't know anything about him.
Oh, yeah.
Or we just know that, we know the timeline. That's why I wish we wouldn't go back to Tatooine so much.
Yeah.
There are other planets. Do other planets have ecosystems? I mean, come on.
Seems like it's all a desert world in Star Wars.
It's all desert. Yeah. Someday can we fly and be like, oh yeah, there's an oasis right over there. Over the mountain ridge, there's this beautiful forest and everything.
I love.
Wow, why do you live over here then?
And stuff like that.
Yeah,
with big flowers and very alien-looking plant life.
Yeah.
Why does everything it's just a dirt palace?
But yeah, but I want to see what's happening, because they talk about how the Empire turned Mandalore into a glass sheet. Well, where'd everybody go? Are they on a moon? Where the other guys hid out during the Clone Wars? Did they really just scatter? I know that in the Mandalorian they were like they only go out one or two at a time. Well, surely all those people in that town didn't think that guy was wearing different outfits every time he went out. I mean,
Right.
surely they noticed
He's
one
got
of
a
those
lot
guys.
of armor.
Yeah, that one. When I saw him earlier today, he was about 80 pounds heavier.
Yeah, he didn't look so beefy.
Yeah, those Mandalores.
Yeah,
But I would like to know more about that and
yeah.
the fall of Mandalore and what Maul had to do with it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I could see that.
True.
Yeah.
They could do it animated. I don't know. I still think something's going to happen with Gina eventually.
You think she'll come back?
I mean, they brought James Gunn back for saying
money talks. Yeah.
Money does talk. But what is in their favor is the show wasn't in any kind of real production.
Yeah.
There might have been some script stuff done, and you could change that.
Yeah.
You can recast and change. This episode of The Bad Batch will tell us what kind of a time jump we're going to get. I do think between seasons 1 and 2, we're going to have at least another year time jump, because we were trying to figure it out how long The Bad Batch has actually been going. And I think it's been about a year since episode 1.
The season's covered about a year. Yeah, I could see
because
that.
they went on 20 or 30 missions for Sid. Each one of those has to take several days, if not a week or so. So there's travel time, there's breakdown time. I think it's been about a year.
And the wheels of government don't move that quickly, even in an empire. So there's no way that within just a few weeks they managed to come to those decisions to just wipe out Camino.
Yeah. They're like, I have completed the new empire. Roll out the new uniforms.
Yeah, just done. They already had it ready.
We're changing the decals. Come on, people.
I do like the stormtroopers though. I like how it's kind of like the old concept art, the Ralph McQuarrie concept art with the sort of helmet.
I love how they did that, and then how that continues in through Rebels.
Yeah,
and there's still some of this residual McQuarrie art all through Rebels.
I feel like they're really kind of trying to bridge that gap, I believe, from Clone Wars to Rebels. The fact that they've introduced a couple of characters already from Rebels, and then they focused so much on Hera the way that they did. I feel like that's no coincidence. I could see them maybe showing how the Empire wipes out Zeb's planet.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe see Zeb in that. And I could see them obviously going to Mandalore at some point and maybe see Sabine. So I could even see the Bad Batch somehow working with Ezra Bridger's parents.
That'd be interesting.
They could have been involved in the shenanigans that led to their death.
Yeah.
And I mean, that would be a nice way to sort of touch on all of those characters and say, here's sort of where they are at this point in the story, but where they'll be later, kind of thing.
Yeah, unless they do time jumps, that would almost be a completely separate series.
It could be,
because with a 13-year, there's a 13-year gap between the end of Sith and the beginning of Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have to take bigger time jumps, or the Bad Batch covers like a 5-year span of time.
Yeah.
And then there's another break that we don't know about. And then another animated series comes to finish off toward,
and maybe tweak the animation a little bit more. So,
to get it closer and closer to Rebels.
More. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Streaming is the way to go for shows. Star Wars, when they were doing Star Wars movies every year, I said Star Wars can't handle that kind of load.
Yeah, it can't.
Can't handle. It needs a break.
That's part of what made it good, was the anticipation that built up waiting in between them.
Yeah, that would be cool if we had a few episodes that Boba showed up in. That'd be interesting, because he's still got his we've still got his bounty hunter guild guys. that are all running around with him. Plus, at some point, we have to run into Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
So that'll be that. They can tie all this stuff together. I kind of wish they wouldn't, because it makes the universe very small. Like everything seems to happen in like 2 or 3 systems, and that's about it.
Yeah, I could see that, but I think that's kind of part of it all, is that connective tissue that, you know, it may be a big galaxy, but at the same time, it's all kind of small. I mean, the reality of it is you've got one person that managed to manipulate the entirety of it. So
yeah, well, and that's what I'm hoping for Ahsoka, is that we kind of get into the outer rim and the beyond where Thrawn is at the moment.
Yeah,
and that we get a little bit more of that story.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that they're definitely trying to retell the Thrawn story to a certain extent. I'm excited to see where that's going to go. Very, very excited.
Yeah, that has to almost be the opening scene of the book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, him getting out of the Sarlacc. Absolutely.
Him getting up.
Yeah.
What up, Nate? How you doing?
Hey, Nate.
I think a lot of Star Wars fans would.
Yeah, she grew on me. Like I wasn't a huge fan when she was initially introduced, and over the course of especially the second season, I was definitely behind.
Well, kind of like all those wrestler MMA guys, they catch on quickly.
Yeah,
they're very. If they took you and me and they decided to put us in a scene together in a Star Wars thing, we wouldn't have any clue what to do properly. What to do with our hands, and don't look directly down the camera. What?
Yeah.
Where's the camera? Don't look at that. What? But 20 episodes later, we might have caught on to exactly what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And then we could be beloved characters.
Yeah, and I think she caught on quick. I think that she was willing to work with the people, the talent that was around her, and kind of help develop her station within the series. One of my favorite episodes is the episode with Bill Burr where they disguise themselves as the tank drivers and have to sneak into the facility, and I feel like that actually had some of the best acting from her. And I really enjoy kind of seeing her and Fennec Shand up on the hillside just blasting folks, and then Bill Burr's
trying to outdo each other.
Yeah, and then Bill Burr's character development in that one single episode, which amounted to more character development than we saw in all 3 of the sequel films.
Yeah.
It's about writing. The writing on that series is just phenomenal on every level. And the directing and the acting, and I mean, like they're putting their money where their mouth is with it, and I appreciate it. It saved Star Wars, I think, for a lot of people.
I think so too, and I also think they underestimated Grogu and how popular he would be, because what's going to happen is we're going to get to season 3 and there's no Grogu.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
There'll be a lot of people who are mad, including my mom. We went to the sequel trilogies. She saw all the sequel trilogies, and you know what she was most mad about?
What?
No Jar Jar, and she had to wait till the very end to see an Ewok. And
I can appreciate that.
I was like, the Ewok thing I get, Mom, but nobody liked Jar Jar. I liked him. He was funny.
Yeah.
But
I liked him in episode 3 when he had no lines.
Yeah. I actually kind of liked him in the Clone Wars series, where he was still kind of bumbling, but not as bumbly-ish.
No, yeah, they handled him much better in that series.
Yeah. And how they did him wrong in those Aftermath novels.
Yeah.
That was heartbreaking to read. It's like, I don't care how much you hated Jar Jar, you read that couple pages and you're like,
was that really necessary?
Yeah, did you need to do that? But
do you think they'll do a Luke series? Like people keep
I don't know, because if you do a Luke series, you have to have Han and Leia in it.
Yeah.
Unless they're going to say that, because we don't know where that temple was. So we could say that Leia and Han are off doing whatever they're doing, because we know what they're doing all the way up to the point where Han leaves and Kylo breaks away. because there's only 7 or 8 years in between the Bloodlines book and the Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
So they act like Luke's been gone this whole time. He's been gone for like not even a decade.
Not even a
He's gone
decade,
for like 5-6 years, something like that. We don't know where he is. Well, how about that giant hole in the map? Well, we don't have
Why
a
don't
map.
you start looking right there?
You can't fly in there and make a map. We have planes that'll fly over South America and make detailed maps of that area.
How did they chart the entire galaxy beforehand?
Yeah. What was that for? What was that episode? Yeah, that was episode 2. And he's like, you can't just erase things. Well, right. Somebody took like 5 systems out of that whole thing.
Yeah.
But
I love that scene. I love how Yoda basically uses the kids to make Obi-Wan look stupid.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Yoda was great. True. Plus, it'll give everybody hot toys. Just make Shadows of the Empire.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and now they've gone past that point now. The Bounty Hunters series, Left Coast, if you're reading the comic, they've gone past that point now. So now they can't make it because now it won't fit in canon anymore. Because all that's being filled in by this Bounty Hunters thing in the new comic, which now takes place in between Empire and Return of the Jedi. So, hey, Gilster, how you doing?
Hey, Gilster.
I don't care. I want her back.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about the paycheck. I'm not going to fault anyone for taking extra zeros.
Disney would have to come out and make an apology.
Yeah.
For erasing her. It's not just okay, we didn't renew your contract. We didn't like what you said. It was erasing the character.
Just done.
From everything. It's like, nope, you don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, what'd she do? What'd Finn do to piss you off then? You erased him from everything, But, and yeah.
All because she was a person and had an opinion and voiced it like every other
Hollywood person
out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And what she said was indelicately put.
Yes. But I don't think there was any cruel intention behind anything.
Yeah. And historically, she's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
But she didn't say it. She didn't know how to articulate what she was trying to say.
Yeah.
And that got her. Plus, they were already looking anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it was purely just an excuse. They wanted her out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I really hate to see politics like that invade, the art. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's about creating these worlds that teleport us away from our own reality. Like, I don't want to be reminded of how much the world around me sucks. I know that every time I open my eyes and look around. The whole point of entertainment in general for me personally, and I think for a lot of people, is the escapism of it. I want to be immersed in that, and I don't want it to constantly remind me of what I'm trying to escape from. It's unfortunate, especially in something like Star Wars.
I mean, look at Mark Hamill. I love Luke Skywalker. He's one of my favorite heroes, but I don't have anything in common with Mark Hamill. He is super, super duper left, can be a nut job some days on Twitter.
Yeah.
But I don't want him not to be Luke Skywalker. I will watch anything he's in.
Yeah.
I'll watch new episodes of The Flash if he's in it. I'll watch new Batman stuff. I don't care because I can separate the performer from their beliefs.
Yeah, I'm watching for the performance. I'm not watching
because he's not Mark Hamill. He's Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
or he's the Joker.
Yeah,
or he's
the
trickster.
The character.
Yeah,
the trickster. I love that he came back for the new Flash to be the
that was great.
Oh, it was so awesome.
I'm hoping he comes back in Flashpoint.
Oh, yeah.
That would just be crazy.
It would be super cool.
So this we've been working to this the whole time, but so why Star Wars? What does it mean to you that you still collect it and still enjoy it?
It's the peak of that escapism for me. I mean, I know it's labeled sci-fi, but it's to me it's fantasy.
Mhm.
It's much deeper fantasy than it is. To me, Star Trek is science fiction,
Yeah.
which I love Star Trek as well. And I think there's a lot more of a social commentary going on within Star Trek. And
Star Trek's
sometimes,
always been that way.
yeah, and that was the
Star
whole
Trek's
point of
always
it.
been a great reflection of the
Yeah,
society it's in.
but that's not what Star Wars is about. Star Wars is about taking you to a place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And I just, my mother introduced me to it when I was extremely young. I wasn't alive when the first one came out, and I was too young to go to the theaters for the second one.
Damn kids.
No,
Get out of our fandom.
But I remember going to see Jedi, and I remember being extremely mad at my mother because we were running late. And when we got in, there was a close up of Jabba's face on the screen, and I was just captivated. I couldn't think about anything else, and it drew me in, and I've just loved everything about the lore of it. I love the look of it. I love that George Lucas focused so much on making it all feel so lived in and so real. Like I truly felt like it was a place that existed. And I just, I never saw the actors. I always saw the characters.
Mhm.
And I don't know, it's always stuck with me. Even through, the prequels and the sequels and everything else. I mean, there's never been a point where I've just thought, nope, I'm done with Star Wars. I think that would break my heart.
Dino wants a geek strong. Well,
see, I've already had my geek strong for the day.
Hercules. Yeah, and that's for me too. And I was old enough when the prequels came out that I understood what the story was.
Yeah.
The story is the rise of Hitler. It's the rise of Napoleon. It's the rise of how good people turn and follow somebody they probably shouldn't.
And that's reflected throughout, all of ancient mythology and all of history.
It's the rise of Caesar. It's the rise of Hannibal. This repeats itself over and over in history, and
timeless tales.
Yeah, exactly. And I understood some of the hatred of like Jar Jar. I get it. He's without meaning to. He's a step and fetch character, and that's not what he was going for. He was going for a character kids would like.
Yeah,
like the Ewoks and like R2 and 3PO. Each of the, maybe not Empire so much, but there's always something for kids to latch onto.
Yeah.
Apart from just the story and the flashing lights and everything.
Absolutely. And that's what's so great about it, still to this day. I love watching it capture new generations, and the fact that even the original trilogy can still do that to this day is a testament.
Even now that it's been ruined.
Yeah.
I mean, because honestly, you can't. I know people who've never watched it, but they already know all the story because it's in everywhere.
It is.
So they already know Vader's Luke's father. They already know Ben dies. They already know the Death Star. They already know that stuff. So you can't watch it clean anymore.
But that says something, I think, about what makes Star Wars so epic. I mean, people all around the world in all shapes and sizes, they know what you're talking about when you say "May the Force be with you." They know who Darth Vader is.
Yeah.
They may not know all the intricate details or every Jedi on the Jedi Council, but they know what Star Wars is, and they know it means something to a lot of people, and it may even mean something to them. I mean, the fact that there actually is a recognized Force religion, that says something. And honestly,
those are Australians. We don't count the Australians.
But I can't fault the logic behind it. I mean, there is some truth to it.
Yeah.
That's why I always loved listening to Yoda talk about the Force. The whole idea of the Force to me was just so magical. It just brought me into it. And we were talking about the prequels. Yeah, sure, there are things that I can understand why people may not have liked the acting, stiff, whatever, Jar Jar, yada yada, but seeing the intricacies of how Palpatine took over an entire galaxy is extremely intriguing to me, and that's what I love the most about the Clone Wars, was seeing that developed even more. I love that there were several episodes that were just politics, because that's what happened. It was all political espionage to a certain extent, and like he slowly but surely maneuvered himself.
And he can just grab somebody and just turn them in the direction he wanted them and let them go and do exactly what he knew they were going to do.
Yeah.
And people like Brandon and Bailey, who are young enough that the prequels are what they saw. They were us, well, at least me, and you to an extent, and they love the prequels.
Yeah.
Maybe not the Attack of the Clones so much. There's a lot of stiffness in that movie. But that's George. Another, I think a different director would have looked at that slightly different.
I think all three of those films could have stood to have had a different director. I mean, I think he's probably the greatest storyteller of the modern age, but he is a terrible director. He just is. He's
a great editor, and he's a great visual guy.
Visual,
exactly what he wants to see. Yeah. And I think it was
he just doesn't work well with the actors.
Yeah, it was Harrison or Luke who said, "Well, it's right there. It's just do that.
Just do that."
Yeah, I'm an actor.
Just read the words.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what makes Spielberg so successful, is he really knows how to connect with the actors to get the performances out of them.
Exactly. He did. And and of course kids love Jar Jar. I worked in a toy store at the time. Now, people my age hated Jar Jar, but they all bought the figures.
Mm-hmm.
And how many of us bought at least one or two of those new deluxe Jar Jars?
It's a beautiful figure. Yeah. It's a beautiful figure. I don't care.
I bought it again a month later when it came out of Best Buy on a card.
Yeah.
Uncle George has got a lot of money from me.
Oh,
the years.
Yeah. Plenty.
Yeah, I would assume that R2 and Mickey are probably the two. The House of the Mouse has got the two biggies.
Yeah.
And then I would say closely after that is probably Superman.
Yeah. No, I could see
maybe
that.
Batman these days. But when I was growing up, it would have been Superman.
Superman for sure. Yeah, when I was a kid, it was all about Superman. Oh, yeah, Batman was such an afterthought.
Christopher Reeve. That's why.
Oh, yeah. I actually used to run a theater in Culpeper, Virginia, which is the place where he broke his back, horseback riding. Yeah, it was. I always just
that man right there.
Yes, yeah, will always be Superman to me.
Yeah,
I can appreciate new actors and new iterations, but to me that will always be the gold.
I kind of liked Brandon Ross, and
I did too.
I really like Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
I think, and I've said this many times, that I don't think the new people know how to write Superman. They don't have the optimism that they need to show a good man.
He's supposed to be a beacon of hope.
Yeah, I think Marvel has done a better job creating that feeling with Captain America.
Yeah, they did a great job with Cap.
DC has with Superman.
And I'll admit, I was skeptical about Chris Evans. I mean, he'd always done just kind of silly comedic sort of stuff.
I couldn't get another teen movie out of my head.
I know.
And I was like, no.
Banana split, whipped cream bikini. Yeah.
That's,
But he was fantastic. I couldn't imagine anyone like I see him and I see Cap. I don't see Johnny Storm from Fantastic Four.
No.
But he was
That's
fantastic.
Why I would love if the multiverse happens, he would show back up as Johnny Storm.
That would be awesome.
And sleeping, someday you will be punched.
Good old Jar Jar Abrams.
We all have Jar Jars in our collection.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Sleeping's from that area. Yeah, up in Northern Virginia.
Yeah, and everybody's always like, oh well, then what? How does he choose what he saves? Well, it's a comic book. Give it up.
Yeah, right.
It's not that much
crime. Trying to apply so much logic to it.
Yeah, he only has like 8 hours before he has to be back at his job. This is like a night gig for him.
I know.
Give
the guy a break. Come on.
Yeah, One, I think you hit it on the head. Same thing with me because, I was there in 77. We didn't get to see it until August, I want to think, because I was living in Indiana at the time, and it didn't come to our theaters initially.
Really? Well, I mean, it was a low budget film.
It's a low budget, no nothing film, and then it took about a month or so because the city only had 2 screens. It's just an old 1930s theater with 2 screens, and that was it. So they were playing other things, and so they had to wait till August to get it. And then once it didn't leave for 2 years.
Oh yeah,
it ran.
Movies
just took over 1 screen for 2 years. And people can't imagine that. And then it was re-released.
I miss those days.
Before Empire Strikes Back came out, they were like, well, coming next summer, Empire Strikes Back. So here's Star Wars again.
Yeah.
And it's like, I miss the 7-year cycle for Disney movies.
Yeah.
That you could go see Little Mermaid or when I was a kid, the first movie I can ever remember seeing is Robin Hood. And then we saw 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and we saw Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and we saw Dumbo and Fantasia, and I saw Song of the South in the theaters because it was re-released.
You'll never see it again.
Yeah, and that was the last time I ever saw it.
Yeah.
I do own it on a couple different things that I can't watch it on because I don't have a PAL player, but I have European copies. But and so when Star Wars came, it hit me right. I mean, I was 6.
Yeah.
So I am the target age group for that.
Absolutely.
And so
it just captured it.
Yeah. And I remember being scared in the cantina scene because I never saw creatures like that before. I didn't know what they were. And there's a devil and a wolf and the hell is that thing?
Yeah, Jabba's Palace scared me the same way.
Yeah. And and so I loved, and of course, by that time I was playing with other things. Big Jim, I had a lot of Big Jim toys, and that went away as soon as I could buy Star Wars stuff. Then my 12-inch Star Wars figures were fighting Big Jim, and I had a couple GI Joes, but not a whole lot. And then 3 3/4 took over my life.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, he lives across the bay from it. I mean, why Superman not go help Gotham?
I know, just could sweep that
the
right
Snyderverse is so stupid. When I watch Batman v Superman, and then Superman's like, who's Bruce Wayne? I don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
Like, people in Oakland don't know what's going on in San Francisco. I mean, come on. Who's Colin Kaepernick? I've never heard of this person.
I mean, to be fair, they do kind of...
He's a newspaper man.
They do kind of mock him a little bit for not knowing who Bruce Wayne is. So.
I've never seen the cover of any of his own papers.
I know.
It just... that was such
He's not a good reporter. What are you going to do?
He wasn't in that version of the movie.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, but I think Cavill did a good job. I think Roth was given a bum rap. That script was not the whole kid thing. I liked that it kind of connected Superman 2, and 1 and 2, and this was technically Superman 3. Yeah. I loved that they used the John Williams score. I don't think any Superman movie should have anything but that theme. You can write all the extra movie music you want.
Yeah, I agree. I wish that they had not had Lex as the villain again. I think that was.
But I loved Kevin Spacey.
I thought he did a great job. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, I would have loved anybody else to have been the villain.
Yeah,
anyone. But then you get into the point where Superman doesn't really have any villains.
Yeah,
and I think that's one of the main problems of DC is all their heroes are gods basically, except for Batman. So none of them have decent villains except Batman.
No, he has the best.
He has the best villains, and where are you going to get Mr. Mxyzptlk to come, or Metallo? That would have been cool. Metallo's wearing a outfit that just happens to look like Lex or something. He's killed Lex. That'd be interesting.
That could be good.
That would be cool. Well, you're going to get it next year. No, year after. because they released, of course, Empire Strikes Back this year. So I assume they're going to release Return of the Jedi into theaters for a limited release.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
You're never going to get the original trilogy.
No.
The closest you can get with that is the reconstructed versions, which I've watched again recently, and man, are those good.
Yeah.
There's a couple spots in them here and there where they had to use some filament stuff that doesn't look right. But man, those are beautiful.
Yeah, we're never going to see the original Star Wars again. It's always going to be A New Hope, and it's always going to be some tweaked version. Yeah. I love how it seems like every time it hits a new media platform of some kind, it's just a little different.
Yeah. Well, and they're like, oh, we want the original trilogy back. So you want it in stereo and not THX? Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Because I watched it in stereo, and I can tell you I'd rather have it in THX and Dolby Surround or whatever the hell.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know,
I'll take it in the mono. I'll do whatever I can.
That is the power of Superman, Nathan.
That is Kip. Yep.
She looked deep into Christopher Reeve's eyes. I was like, oh my.
She's like, nope, this baby's gonna wait.
Yeah, and Spacey was great because he took all the Hackman-ness of it, but then spun it and gave it a good Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
And of course, now he can't be anything, and they replaced him with that. Oh my God, Jason Eisenberg. Who thought he would be a good Lex Luthor?
He was just so neurotic. It was like some modern day Woody Allen version of.
Yeah, I said that, and people didn't know what I was talking about because nobody knows Woody Allen anymore.
No, it's totally just very like, oh, you know, it's just.
And they were all like, well, it's the same character he played in the Social Network.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Well, okay, I can see that.
I mean, I get what he was, I guess, trying to go for, but that's not Lex Luthor to me.
Honestly, Lex Luthor is from Smallville.
Oh, Michael
Rosenbaum is a
great job. Yes.
Because he went the complete everywhere, from being friends to being an enemy to being everything.
Yeah.
And
I love what they did with he and Clark's relationship over the course of that series.
Yeah.
I mean, by the end of it, you basically come to terms with the fact that it's kind of all Clark's fault. That maybe if he'd just been honest with Lex, he could have helped him all that time as opposed to being against him.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed Smallville, actually. I thought it was much better than I thought it would turn out.
I did too, and it didn't. I mean, it still had its crazy. As every WB show does, or CW, I guess.
Or whatever it was. Yeah.
Whatever, you know. That version of Lex was too young. And I know you need to have a young cast because you're going to do 5 or 6 movies with them. Just like the next James Bond has got to be some guy in his early 30s or late 20s in order to, I mean, poor Daniel Craig's been doing this for almost 14 years.
Yeah, and he was frankly too old when he started doing it.
Yeah, and now he's just broke.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not like to see the pills and stuff he has to be on to move in the morning.
For sure.
That's what makes me scared about Harrison too,
Oh yeah, I don't know what's gonna.
I did a karaoke with Michael at a Dragon Con. He's the nicest guy in the world, and a great singer.
Really?
Really is a really good singer. But it's just this little corner of one of the hotels, and we were all there doing karaoke because what else are you going to do in Atlanta? And it was about 11 o'clock, and him and a couple of the other actors who were there wandered in, and we're like, hey, can we join? And everybody's like, hell yeah,
that's awesome.
Sure.
No, I did love him as Flash too on Justice League. Really good.
Oh yeah. I got when I met him, I got something. I got a big JLA thing, and I have all of their autographs on there now. And then I got something signed from him as Lex, of course.
Nice.
So he's another weird guy to see with hair.
Yeah, it looks completely different.
Yeah,
he's so used to seeing that bald head.
Yeah,
but he owned it though. It was a good look for him.
Oh yeah.
I don't have the head for it. I shaved my head one time in high school, and it.
I
got a lumpy dome. Yeah,
I have a couple friends with cancer, and the only thing I'll go down to is a 1. I I can't do the shaved head thing either.
Yeah, it just.
But Nathan's right. I think the whole everything's got to be dark. Superman isn't dark. Superman is the light. He's almost literally DC's Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, he's very much the antithesis to Batman and the
Yeah,
DC
and that's what
universe.
makes Brave and the Bold work so well.
Yeah,
and
that
I
dichotomy.
honestly think I wish they would have done a Brave and the Bold movie instead of Batman versus Superman.
Yeah,
because I get why Batman hated him. I mean, he did probably kill 100 or so thousand people when they destroyed most of Metropolis or Gotham or wherever they happen to be that day. But it just seemed it was all forced.
Yeah.
Oof, oof.
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 Oof. Oof.
Oof.
Oof. Oof.
The call of the oof.
Call of the oof. Yeah, but it's interesting that their animation division does. Why can't they have Bruce Timm come in and sit them all down and say, this is what Batman is, this is what Superman is, this is who Wonder Woman is.
No, I think they've knocked it out of the park with all their animated stuff, really.
Yeah.
I mean, very few missteps.
I think the biggest misstep was the whole with Death in the Family. That whole Batgirl having sex with Batman, that was all creepy and weird.
Oh, the thing that they added to the Killing Joke.
Yeah, the Killing Joke. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning. Yeah, that was. Yeah. I mean, in a weird, hot fantasy world, sure, I could appreciate that from a certain angle, but yeah, no, it was very out of place for the character.
2 months ago, and they were like, would Batman do this to Catwoman? Blah blah blah. Well, A, probably they're both kind of hot.
Yeah.
B, how does that advance the plot? What are you talking about?
What is the point of this? Yeah.
What is the point of this entire conversation? And then Zack Snyder's like, of course he would. Yeah, of course he would in your crappy movies, Zack. And you do it in slow motion, like for 10 minutes as well. Hack director.
Be like the sex scene in the Watchmen.
Yeah, that's exactly what it would be. Say Martha. Why'd you say that name? And oddly, in all the years of reading comics and all that, I never put together that both their moms were named Martha.
Had the same name. Yeah.
Until that moment. I was like, holy crap, what?
Yeah, it's a factor in a story that
he's like Cena
have made.
You can't see him. Yeah, and bad plot points just annoy the hell out of me. That's and that's I think a lot of people's problem with the sequel trilogy. It's not the actors. The actors were just fine. I really liked most of the actors in it.
Yeah, I like the characters. I just didn't like what they did with them.
Yeah. I honestly think it would have been better story-wise. It would have pissed people off if Rey had went to the dark side in the first movie.
I wanted her to join Kylo when he offered.
And then you have two opposing sides. You have Poe and Finn, and you have Kylo and Rey.
Yeah. And
they're working on opposing sides, but eventually both Kylo and Rey figure out that they're working for the wrong side. They really are. They really have chosen wrong. And finally, something happens that, like Solo's death, not at his kids' hands, that clicks Ben back online, kind of. And then they go behind to try and destroy Snoke or whoever they wanted the big bad to be. Not Palpatine.
Yeah.
But I think that would have worked better. It would have made people mad, and it would have made us all think more of, wow, now we're going to have Luke come back because Luke's got to help them save everybody.
Well, the Rian Johnson's whole thing with Last Jedi was he wanted to subvert expectations, but he didn't really subvert any expectations. He basically just made a movie where nothing happened, despite it being longer than any of the other movies in the franchise.
And this will make the chat mad, or at least some in the chat mad. I always call The Last Jedi a bad episode of the new Battlestar Galactica.
I can see that. Yeah, they're cruising along. Yeah.
And absolutely. It's like, okay, Why?
Yeah, just nothing really
Nothing's
happened at
happening.
the end. Yeah.
The political people aren't telling the Viper pilots what's going on, so they go and do their own little thing, and it all messes everything up because you couldn't communicate to each other, and it just drove me crazy. Now, I will give you that whole Holdo maneuver thing was beautiful to look
Oh,
at.
visually, it was stunning.
ILM, you cannot ever fault them. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It broke the Star Wars universe because you shouldn't be able to do that.
No.
And then in the next movie with the whole hyperspace jumping,
yeah,
you can't do that inside atmospheres.
Yeah.
You can't program that. How did you, what?
They just threw all the rules out of the window.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, that last movie was such a mess anyway. It was just all over the place, trying to rewrite the previous one and continue what they tried to start with the first one and then do something else completely different. And I mean, when you hear from Daisy Ridley that she didn't really know who she was as a character until the very end of the whole thing, and then was kind of disappointed by the final answer, well, that's a little disheartening.
Yeah. Oh, and take somebody like Finn. If there's a great book called, I think it's Journeys to the Force Awakens or something like that. It's a young people book, but it's 3 stories: one of Finn, one of Rey, one of Poe, and it gives you more backstory in these 50 pages than you get in all 3 of the movies.
Yeah, so
I can explain almost everything that happened to those characters from that book, but not a lot of people have read it. Rey knows how to fix things because that's what she does. She repairs things for people in town. She's built her own ship before and then had it stolen from somebody. She knows how to fly things because that's what she does. Inside the AT-AT she lives in, there's a simulator that she screws with every night, and it has like 50 different ships on it, and that's all she does is play video games all night long. Just like the rest of us.
They could have easily fit that storytelling into the film somehow.
That's how she knows how to repair the Millennium Falcon, is because she repairs stuff. That's what she does. She's a scavenger. Finn is one of Phasma's best soldiers. He is the leader of his group. He's not a janitor. Why would a janitor be taken on a mission?
Yeah, at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. He'd never be on screen.
No sense whatsoever. Why would he be even in Phasma's division? Like it, makes no sense.
And not to poke the obvious, but why did you make the one black character the janitor?
The janitor, yeah.
But the guy who dies, who he gets the blood on his thing from, he's kind of like the Forrest Gump of his group. Mm-hmm. He's not the best stormtrooper, and they've had to go back and rescue him before. And this has actually caused tension between Finn and Phasma, because they were told to leave him.
Yeah.
They're like, we're not going to leave anybody behind, and they go and get him and pull him back, and he's reprimanded for that. And he knows how to fight. Hang on a second. Let me make sure this doesn't work. Ahoy, hoy. And it's the car insurance people.
I was going to say your car warranty is about to expire or something like that. Yeah.
And he knows how to, and everybody's like, how's he even know to fight with a lightsaber? It's not that difficult because, it's just a sword. It might be hard not to cut your own arm off and stuff.
Yeah, I'd hurt myself.
He knows how to do that is because they train with weapons close to those. And they kind of have this fight club thing within his group. Well, you ever wonder why that guy yells at him and calls him a traitor, even though how in the hell does he even know who he is? He's one of his troopers. He's his best friend in the group. Yeah. And he sees him and knows that he has deserted and what he's done. And that's why he calls him a traitor and goes after him.
It would have made all the difference to have had.
It would have made so much difference. And I get that you can't put a ton of that at the beginning of a film. But considering Poe was supposed to die at the beginning of the movie, he wasn't even supposed to be in the rest of the movie. He was supposed to die in the TIE fighter crash.
Yeah.
and they loved him so much they kept him. Well, this book explains how he got into Leia's good graces, became Black Leader, and then how he got out. He thought Finn had died, but Finn had gotten thrown so far away he couldn't see him. So he started taking off, and he got to another town. Now, it doesn't explain why he didn't try and find BB-8 and complete his mission that was so vitally important to the Republic, but it explains how he gets back to the Republic. But why should I have to buy that book or explain it to you to give backstory that would make you think, oh, Rey's not necessarily a Mary Sue. She's been alone for like 10 years, and this is all she's done. Yeah. She's a gearhead and a video game nut.
Yeah. And that makes all the difference. It really does.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess they kind of hint that she's a scavenger. You see her kind of tinkering with a few things, but it doesn't really hit it home like that. And the simulator thing would have been something easy for them to show and would have made a huge difference as far as showing.
Well, when she puts that helmet on, she could have hit a button on the side and the screen could have lit up inside.
Yeah.
And we could have seen her
perspective.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Of course they don't. Droids do it all.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. Like, why would they have a janitor?
Why would they? I mean, you think those floors get that shiny with people?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. We saw that the droids do their laundry for them.
Mm-hmm.
Which that was more information. I didn't need to know how the Empire. I don't need to know how the Empire's laundry gets done. Because now I have questions about laundry chutes and all that kind of stuff.
I want to see the inner workings. Like, what did the laundering facility in the Death Star look like? That must.
I have the blueprints for the Death Star. It does not have a laundry.
There's no laundry facility.
The Enterprise may have a bowling alley, but the Death Star does not have a laundromat.
Okay, just a bunch of dirty stormtroopers.
No, he says he was a janitor. Go back and watch The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
As a janitor, he knew
That's how he knew about the trash compactor. And
he knows about all that. Thanos was the cleaner. Yeah, but he only does things halfway and then gives up. Everybody takes it in turns. This week, you're the janitor, TX421. Damn it.
He drew
Unfortunately, they did talk about Fight Club, so Tyler's going to be mad.
Yeah.
But,
it's first rule of Fight Club, man.
Well, and Poe, once they had to pigeonhole Poe back in, they were kind of, I don't know what they were trying to do with him, because then they didn't have anything to do with him. And Finn clearly was supposed to have some sort of force,
Well, Poe was our diet Han Solo, I think.
Yeah, he very much so.
And just very watered down version for sure. He was just kind of there more than anything. He wasn't even really a good plot device for most of the films.
Well, and that's, and like I said, that's because he wasn't supposed to be in them.
Mm.
So then when you get to, then he was convenient because they needed somebody to be the Luke Skywalker / Han Solo character to destroy the new Death Star.
Mm.
So then you get to The Last Jedi and he doesn't have a place anymore. What's his place? Well, he's the leader of the X-Wing squadrons. Why wouldn't you tell your plan to him? Leia seems to really like him. Why wouldn't Leia tell the plan?
That blew my mind. It's like, why would he not have been informed of this? It makes no sense whatsoever.
And, then in The Last Jedi, they just revert Finn back. Finn made one of the few people who made some character development in the first movie. And then in the second movie, he's this bumbling, why'd they put him in the storage room?
Yeah.
He's in an ICU bag. Why is he in a storage container? Just kind of, where am I going to put him? I don't know. Put him in there he's a janitor. Put him in the closet.
Yeah.
The rest of the cleaning supplies.
Well, poor Finn's character they never really did anything with him. They never really did anything with any of them but Rey, and what they did with her just wasn't good.
Yeah. And then, like you said, in the third movie, he was trying to retcon the second movie.
Yeah.
If watching Rise of Skywalker is like watching two separate movies.
It is.
And then you have the entire beginning, which actually kind of worked.
Mm-hmm.
the three of them are together. You get the old banter style from the writers, and they're on an adventure, and then they threw the stupid Wayfinder thing in there and the Goonies knife.
The dagger is what gets me the most, because there was no point where anything indicated to them where they needed to be standing to line this dagger up. So she just happened to walk up to just the right spot to line it up with the. It just makes no sense. It could have purely just been something that said it's in the Emperor, or it's always with Palpatine, or something like that. And then they could have been like, well, where did Palpatine die? Palpatine died on the Death Star. So let's go look at the wreckage. He died in his throne room. So let's assume that's a good place to start. Let the characters actually have some damn sense, as opposed to everything having to be handed to them through some sort of Deus Ex Machina.
General Kenobi.
Hey, Rachel.
Yeah, I understand in Star Wars, luck has a lot to do with it.
But come on.
That's going to a point.
Yeah. There's got to be balance.
Yeah. Yeah. You tell yourself that, John. General Kenobi. And so many YouTube channels are on the whole, they're going to get rid of the sequel. No, they're not.
No.
You're going to have to live with them like you live with the Ewok movies. Mm-hmm. They happened. Deal with it. The holiday special is canon. Live with it.
I love the holiday special.
I watched that live. Thank you very much. Commercials and all, and I was confused as hell. No idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And then
I love all the dialogue between the Wookiees. There's no subtitles or anything. There's just extended periods. There's and
you're absolutely right.
It's great.
Fluffy? What?
Brilliant. The fact that George Lucas is so ashamed of that is just hilarious to me.
I don't know. I would bet you that Disney puts that on Disney Plus at some point.
I hope so. I'm glad that they added the the Ewok movies and stuff. I liked those. I don't know.
You shouldn't. Fun. It's Star Wars.
Exactly.
You can say that the Ewok movies and the cartoon and the droids cartoon, they're not canon. They're already doing everything else where they're pulling little bits out. I don't care. That doesn't need to be canon. I'd like to see it.
It's still Star Wars.
I really want to see Detours.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
But they won't run it because it doesn't have any of the sequel characters in it.
Mm.
And it's like, I don't care. You made like 50 episodes of this show.
Right. It's just sitting in a can.
Yeah, it's just sitting there waiting. Well, and the whole point of The Last Jedi is, there is no canon. We're just going to destroy it all.
Yeah. Forget the past. Kill it if you have to.
Let it die. It's canon. Deal with it. Exactly. Yes, but then the sequels came out, and the prequels.
So the prequels are better.
Yeah, they were like, hey, you know what? Maybe that wasn't so bad. Maybe we were a little hard on Jake Lloyd. You think?
Disney just worked so hard to try to avoid any connection to the prequels when they were initially kind of starting up everything with Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was, I get the logic behind it, but it wasn't the smartest move. I feel like again, it's all about balance. And there needed to be a mix of the two. I mean, they had the opportunity to cherry pick what was good about the prequels and bring that more into the limelight. But as soon as I heard the term M count in Mandalorian and realized that they didn't even have the cojones to say metachlorian, I was like, okay, well, there we go. Now I know how they feel about it. But it's funny to see how it started to eke back into things with the Bad Batch and Clone Wars being so successful.
Yeah, and that's, I wish they wouldn't turn away from their own history.
Yeah. Embrace it. It's there.
It's there. Deal with it. Move on. They're bad episodes. They're good episodes. It's taken me a long time to come to terms with, I'll probably never watch the sequels again. I love watching Star Wars movies. I've watched the movie I like more and more every time I watch it is Solo.
Yeah, I enjoy Solo.
Yeah,
I really do.
I still like Rogue One, but I don't care because everybody dies. I already know. I played that video game. I know how that story works.
To me, Rogue One is just kind of an appetizer to lead into A New Hope.
Yeah.
I always immediately want to watch Star Wars right after.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely, and I'm like, and then the Vader bit is great at the end.
Oh yeah,
but it does feel tacked on.
It does.
As if they're like, oh yeah, I guess we do have Vader doing. He would be doing something, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question on Rogue One? How did R2 and 3PO get onto Leia's ship?
Well, they were at the base, and
then all the ships leave, and 3PO.
They were there because
they're going to Scarif.
Yeah, but wasn't Bail Organa still there at that time? Wasn't he talking to Mon Mothma about sending someone to get his quote unquote Jedi friend?
Yeah.
And since he was the one that possessed the droids, I would assume that they just hadn't gotten on board the ship yet.
I don't know. It just seems weird that he would take his daughter on his ship, take the ship to Scarif, put the ship inside another cruiser when her mission was to go get Ben. Her mission was not to take this plans to anybody because they weren't supposed to be getting the plans.
It seems almost like he went to get Leia because he wasn't on the ship. So it seems almost as if he went to get Leia, stayed on Alderaan, and sent Leia to Scarif to retrieve the plans.
Yeah.
But that's not fleshed out, but it's the only thing that makes any sense to me because otherwise he would have just been on the ship.
Yeah. They
wouldn't have died when Alderaan was destroyed.
Well, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in both the Cassian show and in the Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's going to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Transcript not available.
And I think Jimmy Smits did a good job with the character.
I did too. I thought he was another great casting.
Mm.
And they, Star Wars and Marvel especially is great at casting.
Mm.
You can question what they're doing, but then you see it and you're like, nope, that fits perfect. That's exactly, even I still like Ed Norton as Bruce Banner.
Well, I mean, for the version of Hulk that they were going for, he fit. The more modern version of Bruce Banner is more like that version.
Yeah.
Ruffalo is definitely more, kind of harkens back to Bill Bixby Hulk, which is fine with me because that's what I think of when I think of Hulk. There needs to be some piano music at some point with him hitchhiking down a road.
I like that.
I would love to see a moment like that. And with the way that they've handled the character, especially with all the humor and Ragnarok and stuff, like I don't think it would be out of place for them to throw that in there for the fans.
Yeah. I like that Antilles went to support Radis. I like that.
Yeah.
And Leia was just kind of along for the ride.
Along for the ride, yeah. Makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I like that. That's a good answer. Okay, then Rebel, tell me this: who has Grogu at the beginning of The Mandalorian? This has been bugging me for a week now. Because
who does he get Grogu from?
Yeah, who are those guys? Because they're clearly defending Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
They've set up posts. They have him in a locked room. They're not bounty hunters, or they would have turned him over.
They don't seem to be mistreating him either.
Yeah. So were those actually good guys?
I think that they stole them from the good guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So we're like, okay, well, did whoever had him be like, okay, watch the kid. I'm going to Starbucks. I'll be back. And then he comes back and everybody's dead and Grogu's gone. He's like, what the? You had one job.
Just drops the coffee. Yeah.
Just drops the coffee. Slow motion drop to the ground.
Just splashes out.
Oh, it's blue milk everywhere.
Blue milk.
But me and John were talking about this last week, and I don't know. When I work this much and I can't sleep properly, weird things come to my head, and I was like, well, wait a minute,
It's a perfectly logical question.
Yeah,
and it makes sense. I mean, I would assume there's been some sort of chain. Hey, Keith, of people that he's kind of been passed to and from over the course of the time that's passed since episode 3.
Yeah.
Because he was obviously smuggled, as we found out during the purge by someone. Yeah. It all goes dark, supposedly.
I don't know who it was. Somebody suggested that the librarian was the one who rescued him, because Vader tracks her down and kills her. Well, why would he care so much about a librarian? Yes, she's a Jedi and whatever, and that's his shtick. But I like the idea that she's the one who rescued Grogu.
It's possible. I could see more the goal of killing her being just as someone who was entrusted to oversee, the archives. I would imagine that she's probably pretty knowledgeable in Jedi arts and history, and she'd be a good person to get rid of if you want to keep the Jedi from rising up again. So I could definitely see there being a couple reasons to kill her off. But I mean, then it raises the question: why does he care about finding Grogu?
Does he even know about Grogu?
Does he even know? Yeah.
So
then how does the Empire know about him?
Yeah, and Left Coast. I like the pirates idea because that would mean that Hondo could be somewhere in the behind.
No, I could totally see Hondo with that group.
He seems very important, so I will keep him.
Yeah.
Yes. You guys, you watch him. I'll be back. And wanders off to Batu for something.
Well, I'd love to see a live action Hondo. That'd be awesome.
I think we're gonna get it sooner than you think. I think he's gonna end up in Book of Boba Fett.
I could see it.
Yeah, and I get that they sent IG 88, but and all those other guys, but these guys weren't bounty hunters because they already had him and they would have turned him in for the cash, unless John thought that maybe they were trying to get the price up. That if they waited a little longer, maybe the price.
Well, that's what she's saying. That basically, like, the Empire didn't want to pay the people that had him, so they sent bounty hunters in to take him from them. And it would make sense that they would hire a couple of them, particularly a droid. I could definitely see them sending a droid because it would kill the child. That's another question. Why was he told to kill the child?
Yeah, and the chat last week came to the conclusion that it's easier. The dead or alive thing is easier dead. Yeah. So, and I was like, well, yeah, but he worked with him just fine later when he was a nanny, but I don't know. I missed that bit where you proved that Padme saved Grogu. Because
I mean, there's some strong logic behind it, and it kind of fits with some of the things that are going on in episode 3 as far as her reactions to certain moments, and the way that she is with Anakin during all of it.
But the biggest problem with the sequel trilogy is there were no gonk droids. Gonk, 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 gonk. That's what makes the Bad Batch so great.
I just built my Bad Batch subtle. Yes. There's my gonky right there.
Nice gonky. All I want is a gonky that comes with my Omega.
Series. Omega.
I'll buy 2 so that I can open him.
Well, I mean, that would make sense because she's going to be a small figure, so make it a 2-pack that has good old gonky in there,
or a 3-pack with AZ.
Oh,
AZ, gonky, and her.
That would be good.
Make it a deluxe figure for $30.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally buy it. I mean, my issue's never been with the figures that Hasbro's produced. It's the inability to get a hold of them that's been my beef this entire time. The botched pre-orders and everything. I don't mind if they reuse a bunch of parts.
Yeah, the reusable parts. I don't need another Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, they
really don't. Yeah, I don't.
That dead horse.
The original trilogy is a dead horse. I love it to death. Can I get some sequel and prequel trilogy figures?
Mm-hmm.
There are other things to make.
Well, I mean, they've really been heavy on the prequel stuff here lately, and it's been selling like crazy. I think it proves that everyone wants that. And there's so many different clones that they can make, and that's such an easy way to reuse parts.
Well,
Not to mention so many unique characters that maybe are only on screen for just a moment, but it's part of expanding that universe of Star Wars.
I mean, come on. We have you collect 3 3/4 inch figures. There are, I think, 93 figures for episode 3. They made a ton of people, senators, droids, everybody.
There's plenty to make. And that was what was so great about the prequels.
There are
is really broadened the world.
Yeah, there are no 3 3/4 inch figures for Rise of Skywalker.
Well,
there are
barely made anything for Rise of Skywalker.
For The Last Jedi. There are 27 for The Force Awakens.
Wow.
And it's nuts. Quick. And I don't blame Hasbro for the whole Last Skywalker thing. Hell, the movie wasn't even finished. How could they make figures?
Yeah.
You know, what, we don't even know how much was reshot and all that stuff when they were flipping out. Same with Rogue One. I would really like to see an original script for Rogue One and Solo.
Yeah, and I'd like to see an original script for Rise of Skywalker too. I mean, I can confirm that they definitely made some changes all the way up to less than 2 weeks before release, because we had a change at the theater in the total running time, which shaved over 20 minutes off of what was initially told to us. So, I mean, 20 minutes of film is a lot. And I don't think that was a matter of them tweaking a few scenes and making them a little shorter. That's whole scenes that are just missing, big chunks of storytelling, and could have made a huge difference in people's perception on the film.
Yeah.
But they wanted to keep it under a certain length.
So you cut or add all that time. John Williams isn't doing your music. If you are, you're going to an 80-some-year-old man and saying, okay, the movie's 20 minutes shorter now. Please cut everything. Or it's 10 minutes longer. I need more music.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what? I can't do that in a week. You know, so you have somebody else who comes in and ghost writes it, or you're using stuff from other places, or you're reusing themes from Return of the Jedi, you know, something like that. I don't care, Mark. I'm done with the original trilogy. I would love more Cantina people. I would love more Jabba's Palace people, stuff like that. I don't need another Han. I don't need another Luke. I don't need another Leia.
I think it's more of an issue of those core characters that they're overdoing.
Yeah.
There's still plenty of side characters that they could make for sure. I mean, like you said, the Cantina aliens and Jabba's Palace alone, I mean, that's several figures that they need to spit out.
Well, why is it taking us this long to get a Lobot? We don't have a Hammerhead.
Bib Fortuna.
Yeah. You know, fat or not. Either way, give them to me. You know, it's basic characters, and there are a lot of basic characters in those 42 that still need to be done. But I don't want a Bespin Leia. I don't want another Leia. Give me somebody new.
The fact that you had to buy the Comic-Con Jabba to get a Salacious is a crime.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a key element to who Jabba the Hutt is.
Well, and, you know, and the next thing probably coming up will be a Han out of carbonite. And so he doesn't have his jacket on.
Yeah.
Well, I don't need that. Give me a Klaatu. Give me anybody. You know, it cracks me up that there's so much money out there and Marvel does it so well.
Oh, they do it so well. They're so on top of it.
And
they get the figures before stuff comes out too.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I can't get different heads and different hands for my Lukes or whatever. I get the same lightsaber every figure. Maybe a blaster. I can't get 2 blasters
with his little trigger finger to hold his lightsaber.
Yeah. Or if I do get 2 blasters, it's $29 because that's a deluxe figure now.
Yeah.
Well, no. Yeah.
But
I mean, we could fill hours just complaining about Hasbro.
Well, I mean, like I was saying, I got the Black Widow figures there. Like, I mean, this Black Widow figure, all those blast effects and everything.
Mhm.
I mean, all the hands, like that.
You can't tell me that they can't port those over.
Yeah.
They can't just put those blast effects in a thing and make it look like laser effects. They did it for the Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best. That's the closest to an actual deluxe figure that they've really come out with. It's the only one that I felt warranted a little higher price point. Was the Boba.
I mean, and I'm not for Leia's. I guess the rumor.
Well, there's some more to make. I want some more Padmes. Come on,
yeah,
she literally had a different costume every scene, and we've got one in the plainest costume that you ever wore.
Well, it shows the midriff, and everybody's happy with that. That's that's what you want. But exactly. You can't get. I mean, there's so many prequel characters that you could do, and there's not enough droids.
No, not nearly enough droids.
Not nearly enough.
Yeah, I agree. R5 definitely should be released. Hey,
yeah, I would, especially because he's in the Mandalorian.
Yes.
So
and they could do that's two of them. It's just a different paint deco. Put the little scorch mark on the back of the Mandalorian one.
Yep, and all you have to do is repackage the one that they did 2 years ago.
Yeah, they've already got the mold. Like, yeah, it makes no sense. There's such obvious things that they don't do, and then they do things that just make no sense whatsoever.
Well, and it's because the Marvel guys seem to care.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whenever you watch those live streams, we always joke because it looks like the Star Wars people are hostages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're like, we have this coming.
Blink twice if you're in danger.
You expected the next thing they're going to pick up is a small newspaper.
Help. Patrick gone missing.
Patrick, yes. Oh, man.
The Marvel guys are totally into it.
The rumor mill going around that Galactus hasn't been
he's not backed
fully funded yet because he let that leak about the Rancor, and now people are choosing to buy the Rancor instead of Galactus.
I've heard a lot of people say that they've got to pick one or the other. If no one knew about the Rancor, they would have hopped on that Galactus, and then they would have just found a way when the Rancor came out.
Yeah.
So yeah, Patrick might be moved to a different division somewhere in Antarctica or something.
Exactly. Yeah, he reminds me of remember the end of Stripes?
Yes.
And the commander's been shipped to Fargo or Alaska.
Yeah, exactly.
Never to be
John Larroquette, man.
Yep.
Night Court.
Yeah. So completely shifting gears. So Adventure has a name, and it's Indiana Jones. So what are your feelings on the Jones? I know there's 4 movies. Most people don't like the 4th one. The 5th one's in production now. I don't know when that might get pushed again.
There's word that it might. To me, honestly, the first and the third one are what make the entire franchise for me. Temple of Doom, I mean, technically it was a prequel. It was okay. It was a fun little adventure, but it felt like a filler episode of Indiana Jones to a certain extent. Now, as far as Crystal Skull, it did still feel like Indiana Jones, but more than anything, the entire time I was watching it, all I could think was, man, he's old. Like, he just needs to give it up. And the thought that they're bringing him out for another, for one, shows me that they paid a lot of money, because I'm certain that Harrison Ford would not have done it for anything short of a huge paycheck.
Well, I know that he was actually contracted to do the 5th, and it was actually part of the Star Wars contract.
Wow.
And he said that the only way he would come back and do The Force Awakens is if he could do a 5th Indiana Jones, because he wanted to finish the series off properly.
Well, I know it's been in development for a long time, but I don't know what script they're using. Are they using what they've been working on this whole time that they've been trying to pitch, or is this something completely new?
I don't know.
I just feel like it's going to end up tearing down the character of Indiana Jones to such a level that he loses some of the luster in certain people's eyes, because
Again,
he's just so bad off.
I think it would have ended. I think it would have done better as a series, and not a live action series. I would have loved a. You could have done the Adventures of Indiana Jones as an animated series, and you could have done like 3 or 4 episode arcs like they do during the Clone Wars, from different points in his life.
No, just kind of hop around.
Patrick Flannery come back and do the voice of the younger one. You could have had Harrison if you wanted to do Harrison, but there's a couple guys who do incredible impersonations of him, including Mark Hamill, who could have come back and just done that. And I think it would have worked because you could do, from a merchandising standpoint, you could do a lot more with that.
Oh, yeah.
With this, people will look at it as the last hurrah of Indy, because we're not going to allow, even though there's been 5 people who have played Indiana Jones, people aren't going to let Harrison not be Indiana Jones. They're not going to allow, of course, who they're going to have to explain where Mutt went.
I'm curious about that myself.
It would be interesting to see what happened with him if he's still around.
He went nuts on the internet. That's where he went.
Yeah. And then if this truly is his daughter, that fits in canon. Because in the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, he's living in Chicago with his daughter. He says it many times.
Yeah. Before
they edited that guy out of all the Young Indiana Jones episodes, which I'm slowly collecting those all on VHS.
I've got some of the old VHS.
Yep,
yeah.
And they still have the bumper with him on it.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm like, yep, that's what I want.
Yeah.
But I think they made a huge misstep with having his son. It should have always been his daughter. It should have been Natalie Portman. And
that would be great.
Move along.
Yeah.
But this is set in the 60s, right around the space race. It looks like, from early word, that it's flashbacks show him helping rescue the rocket guys from Germany during.
Yeah, I've seen some images of like World War II, like German vehicles and stuff. So I was kind of
so he's the one who gets all those guys out, and I would really have liked them to have done the Fountain of Youth story, which was original.
Yeah, that was what I was curious about, is what is going to be the artifact? What is he looking for?
Yeah. So it'll be interesting, as long as he doesn't end up on the moon or something, or in space.
Well, they've already done Aliens with the crystal skulls. So
yeah. I know everybody hated that, but that's.
I mean, if you know anything about the crystal skulls, it kind of fits.
Yeah. If you understand the crystal skulls, if you understand Chariot of the Gods, which, believe it or not, have you ever watched that documentary? Yeah. They showed us that in school.
Yeah.
It was like, when I watched it years later, I'm like, they showed me this as an educational thing in school.
I mean, that's some mind-blowing stuff, man.
Yeah.
It really is. They talk about making you question things.
15, 16 seasons of Ancient Aliens, but that was all the rage back then,
Yeah. Well, at this point, I feel like Ancient Aliens is kind of beating a dead horse. Like, they're starting to get really desperate for material.
I always use Finding Bigfoot as my example of those History Channel shows that have gone too far.
Yeah.
The very special episode in Wichita, because that's where Bigfoot hides, is in Wichita, Kansas.
In Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah, that's well-known forests just outside Wichita. Yeah, and I'm really trying not to. It's hard not to get bits of movie news and stuff. They started filming already. They're just filming scenes where he doesn't have to do much.
Yeah.
So they're filming a lot of talking scenes, from what I hear. But
I saw some footage of like a little bit of an action scene. a little bit of fisticuffs out in the streets and stuff. So
That would be awesome if Chris Evans showed up on the set.
that would be awesome. Yeah, what? Red Skull pops out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really.
Zola's in it.
I did notice that. Yeah, I thought the same thing. It's like, oh, they.
Can you imagine? I really like him as an actor, but he's one of these guys who's bloomed really late, but has somehow gotten into everything. He's in Marvel. He's in Indiana Jones. He's done a voice work in Star Wars. Mm. It's like all of a sudden he's in Doctor Who. He's like suddenly becoming like a touchstone character actor in a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but he plays very similar characters, I think, in a lot of them.
Yeah, he does fake German accents very well. Yeah. So he's a fill-in for Peter Lorre. I feel that he's a drop-in character. I want a Peter Lorre type character, just a little guy who's just a little. He might be crazy. He might not be crazy. You don't know. And he's who you.
He's definitely
call.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, he's who you call.
But hey, if it's work, it's work.
It according to ancient alien theorists, they could actually be aliens.
Ancient alien theorists say yes.
I love that guy. Did you ever see the South Park episode there? They ripped the hell out of that in Thor.
No, is this a newer episode?
It's a new episode. It must be in season 18 or something. It's all the story of Thanksgiving.
Oh no!
And how Plymouth Rock and it's all Thor and Ancient Aliens all at the same time. Okay. So you have to watch it. It's hilarious.
I have to watch that.
Yeah, and how there's 5 realms, and he puts his hand up and he says there's 5 realms, and you go like this, and he takes his hand away, and of course he's made of turkey, and so it's
the Thanksgiving.
Oh
turkey.
My goodness! And somehow awesome. Natalie Portman's special bits are a key to unlocking the portal.
Special bits.
She's a literal portal to Thor's world. Yeah, you got to go look for that episode. I don't know what it's called. It's great. And then, of course, they did that great episode where they really didn't like the Crystal Skull.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was was it Witness? Wasn't that the movie with Jodie Foster?
Yeah.
No, not Witness. Was that Witness? No.
No,
Witness was the Harrison Ford movie. It was but yeah, the one where she's raped and everything.
Yeah.
It was just it was
those guys, they got a big name. They got a 3 or 4 more year deal. Goes through 2026 for South Park, and 14 movies for Paramount Plus.
Wow.
So they didn't say if they're simply South Park movies or if it's just things they're going to develop.
That's interesting. 14. Wow.
Yeah. Well, and those guys are lazy as hell.
I know. They'll never fulfill that contract. They'll die before the end of that contract.
Yeah. Oh, and so the back of that is that the History Channel here's something Kyle has said, and they keep calling him Professor Blofsky. Mm-hmm. And and so he becomes an expert on the ancient aliens theory. And that episode's so good.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that tonight. Actually, I love ancient aliens.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so ridiculous, but I love it.
Yeah, like the first 3 seasons, you're like, yeah, they're just covering everything that was in. It's just chariots of the gods into a series, and then by series 12, you're like, what?
They even did a whole episode on Eric Von Daniken, the author. So
yeah, well, he was executive producer for quite a while.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened. They must have had a falling out or something, or who knows? Maybe he found the Oak Island treasure and went away.
That's a show that I'm shocked is still going. Is the Oak Island? Like,
I'm afraid you can't stop watching.
Found a piece of wood. Oh,
well, that'll get us a new season.
Yeah, it's a scrap of parchment.
The entire Oak Island thing is an incredible thing. I mean, somebody had to have built that.
Yeah.
Why? God knows.
Yeah.
Who made tunnels from the ocean to here? Why would you even do that?
The feat of engineering that had to occur just to do that. Yeah.
And I would love to think that it was some sort of Templar or something like that, and he's just laughing.
Yeah.
Like, you see these idiots? There's nothing there. This is
nothing, yeah, it's all just elaborate hoax.
It's all just a big, but
supposedly they found like a chamber that had things in it, but
they found a chamber that had what looked like a part of a chest, part of a box, and it had like 4 coins in it and a couple bullets. And they were all tested to be like from late 1600s or something like that, and that's what got them moved on again. And it's like, geez,
how much money have they poured into that in order to find something that may not exist?
History Channel was doing a 50-50 split with them on the production of the show.
Are they?
So millions by now, because they said they'd spent. I stopped watching in season 5 regularly, and they said they'd already spent $6 million.
Yeah,
of their money.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yes. I forgot the stuffing mines. That we don't have any stovetop stuffing because the Native Americans are really the cold people from Thor.
Okay.
So it's the
frost giants.
Yeah, the frost giants and the Odin's people are all pilgrims.
Okay.
And they're fighting over the stuffing mines. And Cartman goes nuts because there's no stuffing. Well, of course we have stuffing. It's right over. Wait a minute. Where's the stuffing gone? And so, of course, Cartman has a meltdown. Oh my God, that episode is awesome. So good. And when we're done, I'm going to go watch that episode.
Yeah, I'm definitely watching that for sure.
It's too damn funny. But, back to what we were originally talking about in the first one.
A little bit of a tangent there,
yeah. Yeah, welcome to my stream.
Hey,
it's a stream of consciousness that goes everywhere.
The live stream of consciousness.
What I'm hoping we get out of this new movie is a series of vintage card figures. I don't even care if they repackage those figures they did back for Crystal Skull, because those were really nice figures. They were VC quality. They had elbow joints, they had knee joints, they had cloth outfits. They must still have those molds.
With all this talk about the Lucasfilm 50th anniversary and everything, it just seems like a no-brainer to me that they would put something out for it.
Yeah, that's and that's, we've talked about that too, is why create that 50 logo if all you're going to do is Star Wars?
Yeah.
Where's my Ron Howard figure from American Graffiti or Harrison Ford?
Robert Duvall from THX 1138.
Yeah, where's Robert Duvall? Where's Harrison Ford? Where's my Howard the Duck? Where's my Val Kilmer from Willow?
Oh, I'd love to see a Willow line.
Where's a Tuskegee Airman from Red Tails?
Red Tails, yeah.
There are other, they can't do Radioland Murders, of course, because nobody remembers that movie to start with. I seem to be the only one who really likes it. And what are they going to do? George Burns? But there's so much they could do for Lucasfilm, and they don't.
Yeah.
It's, and it's just Star Wars. Well, I don't care. I was going to buy your Star Wars junk anyway. Don't ruin my vintage packaging by putting a logo in the corner that isn't on all the rest of them.
Yep.
So now it's wrong. Don't put Pablo out unless you're going to put him on the right card. Why can you not know who you're putting on the wrong card again? Anyway,
I don't know how they make those kind of mistakes either.
I understood that whole one with the Imperial Guard guy or whatever, because there are a couple of them, but somebody had to write that whole insert inside
in the back. Yeah. So why?
So nobody looked at it and said, "Well, that's not this guy." But that's all right. And I'm out for the day. And that's where they would never do that with Marvel.
No.
You would never get a Cyclops character that is clearly Wolverine. But they don't care. It's weird. The Joe people kind of care. The Marvel people really care. The
Yeah,
Star Wars people it's just a money printer.
yeah, I definitely feel like the Joe people kind of care, and I have to say that I've been pleased with the restocks that they've done and things, because like those Cobra Island figures were impossible to find at Target, and I mean I managed to pick all of them up, all the ones that I was missing directly from Hasbro.
Yeah.
Hey, Papa.
Yeah, and
Yeah, Papa Gord actually helped me out on getting this beautiful lady right here. So,
nice.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'm pleased that they at least tried to fix their mistakes there, because it wasn't so much what they were making as much as it was the distribution issue. But with Star Wars, it's just there's so many things that are going wrong with how they're approaching it, and it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and I get that they don't want to oversaturate, because that's what happened with the sequel stuff. But I will go to bat saying that they had 5 movies in less than 10 years. And by the time Force Awakens stuff was out, they were already getting ready to produce Rogue One stuff. So then you had that in the stores. And so you had Force Awakens, Rogue One, and Last Jedi stuff all in the stores at the same time. And 3 different package styles. And I think because the brand didn't speak with one voice, it got lost. Because you could go now, if they'd have kept everything in the vintage style packaging and just changed it to Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, whatever, put the 5.0 figures on there, whatever, I think you would have sold it a lot better, and it would have had more shelf life.
No, I agree.
When you're Target and you're trying to get rid of you have to hurry up and get rid of this Force Awakens stuff now, because you have Rogue One stuff coming. And you see the same problem now with Shang-Chi. And we saw it with Black Widow, and we saw it with Wonder Woman. Poor Wonder Woman. Try to find anything by the time that movie came out. You know, I have a couple cousins who have kids, and their little girls wanted a Wonder Woman toy, and they ended up getting that stupid McFarlane one that's still everywhere.
Yeah.
Because all the other stuff was sold out. They had to eventually go to eBay to get some stuff. But, you know, I get that things have shelf life. But if your shelves are empty, why do you care?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure everybody will notice in one of my videos and in a couple coming up, Target is moving their entire collectibles area back into the toy aisles.
Really?
Yeah.
So they're not going to have the separate collectible spot anymore.
There's a forfeit section specifically for NECA, a forfeit section specifically for Funko, and then there's a forfeit section for Super 7, for the Gundam models, all that stuff. So they took 12 feet of the boys' aisle and shoved everything down so it makes it look fuller.
Wow.
And they are continually getting NECA stuff, so that section will always look full now.
Well, NECA's taken full advantage of Hasbro and Mattel's.
Well, and so was McFarlane there for a while. Man, McFarlane was pumping stuff out. Their pegs were full.
I think McFarlane, it's just started to become more of a rarity because a lot of people shifted gears to collecting that. So all of us are picking those up. I mean, I've got a few of them sitting right here. So, you know, yeah, I mean, I get it.
They don't get a chance to be peg warmers for the most part.
No. I want those boys figures from NECA, the Starlight and
those are on clearance.
Are they really? I can't find them.
Walmart is already getting rid of those for $10 a piece.
What?
Yeah, I've seen a couple different videos for it. I'm pretty sure Sleeping's still here that he saw them too.
I've not seen a single one at any of the Walmarts near me.
My Walmart ended up with them on an end cap, and whenever they put an end cap of stuff up, that end cap doesn't last long, and anything that's left on it has to be clearance because there's no spot for it in the aisle. So when that end cap changes in a month or so, all that has to go away. That's why that end cap used to be full of like Rhino Alien and Ultimate Doc Browns and some Aliens 40th anniversary figures. And all those got clearance to $10 and $11 because they had to get rid of them. They couldn't sit on shelves. And what's really funny is then they got those all shipped back 6 months later, marked them all back up to $30.
Oh, wow.
Big warmers.
Well, there's obviously a network of scalpers in my area, because I've seen, like, I went into Target. It was less than an hour before they closed, a few weeks back, and they had like 15 of the Clone Wars Echo on the peg. And then the next morning, I came in an opening to see if they had gotten a new shipment in for other things I was looking for, and all 15 of those were gone. So you're telling me in the 45 minutes that the facility was open between when I was there the night before and when I came back the next morning, which I was the first person in the store. So in that 45 minutes, they sold 15 of the same action figure. No, a scalper came and picked them all up.
Yeah.
And it's that way with everything. There's so many things, like, like I was just saying about the boys figures. I can't find them anywhere. Anything that's a big seller, like the Motu Origins Rise of Evil 2-pack thing, like that. I have yet to see. I had to get a friend to send me one.
Those are everywhere at my Target.
I see all these pictures of rows of them just sitting on the shelf, and I have yet to see a single one up here.
But on the East Coast, I've been watching Sleeping and a couple other guys. They have a whole bunch of stuff we don't. Here in Colorado, we are so far behind. I have still, in April, I picked two. I picked a Hunter and the whatever random trooper guy is out of that set. That's the only time I've ever seen that.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen that wave at a store, and I had to go to Kansas for that.
Oh, wow.
Those were the only two of those I've ever seen, and I've never seen a wave since then. Now, everywhere has what's his name from The Mandalorian? Nick Nolte's character.
Oh, Queel
and Apollo Creed. Now,
I see.
I
see them and a little bit of Moff Gideon. I'll see from time to time.
Gideon was around for a while, and then all of a sudden he's gone again.
Yeah.
But the same thing happened at my Targets. Target went through and clearanced a ton of stuff for this move. A whole bunch of Super 7, tons of Funko, a whole bunch of Dragon Ball, all that stuff. And I would see it, and I would go the next afternoon to get something, and 90% of it was gone. I mean, it was cheap, but
not that cheap.
Not that cheap.
The one or two random collectors that walked in snatched it all up. No, there's obviously someone grabbing them to resell later. I'm up in Washington, near Seattle.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is. I know we have a couple scalpers here, and randomly I will text one of them and say, have you gone over here? Because I'm trying to do a hunt, and can I find something?
Are you the reason I can't find this?
Yeah, and sometimes he'll be like, no, I just hit that place, man. There's nothing there. They had these two Black Series figures, and I bought them. But it's not like we have stuff hanging on the shelves either.
Yeah.
And it's my Walmart's. I mean, my last toy hunt was sad. And they've done the same thing where they've now put a new shelf all along both diecast and action figures in order to take that peg space down.
Wow.
So they don't have to carry as much. Or one of my Walmarts actually took 8 feet from the end of the aisle, shoved everything down, and moved some Lego around the corner.
Well, Lego's great with keeping up on their distribution. Like I've even the few things that I've gone onto their site that sold out like instantly when they came up for sale, within a week or two, I saw them on the shelf in the store. I mean, there's been very few things that I couldn't find at the store without really having to make a big effort for it. Just in passing, happened to be there, looked down, I was like, oh, there's that.
The big test for that will be the What If minifigs. Those are going to be a nightmare to get.
Yeah. Well, that's why I've tried to limit myself to just Star Wars on my Lego buying, because otherwise, I mean, if I got into like Harry Potter and Marvel, it would just be over the top.
And see, I don't do Lego at all anymore because I don't generally open anything.
Yeah.
Now I do get suckered into minifigs randomly.
Oh, the minifigs are the best part.
I did open my Bro Thor lounge because
that's
it's
awesome.
just too cool.
Yeah.
And I almost get tricked constantly into buying some Potter stuff and some Star Wars things, but I don't really have anywhere to put ships.
Yeah.
Buildings I could kind of figure out how to put on, some shelving or something. Ships take up space, and they're gonna fall.
Yeah, and then they just
yeah.
Unless you glue the pieces together, which that just blows my mind that some people do that. Is kind of defeats the whole purpose. It's a building toy.
Yeah,
you need to be able to take it back apart and put it back together. Granted, I would
kept the instructions.
Yeah, I keep all that stuff. I would never. It would be a cold day in hell before I took apart my Death Star. Like that took me 3 days to build, so I'm done.
I got I don't know if they were called Technic back then, but I got one of the big X-wings that they made forever ago. It was like a couple thousand pieces, and I was like, I can't build this. And I had a buddy who loved Lego, and I'm like, hey, Dan, do you want to build this? He said, yeah, excellent. A week later, I walked over and picked up I was like, nice. Like, that was a lot of fun.
It is your building bitch.
Yeah,
nice.
Exactly. I have a buddy who he does have a building bitch.
Really?
He will buy sets. He just bought the 66 Batmobile. And he got the 89 Batmobile and the Batwing recently. Yeah. And he's like, I'm just going to take these over. Craig will build them for me.
Nice.
I'm like, well, that's kind of half the fun. But once they get so big, like that new Republic Cruiser, that is sweet.
Yeah.
It also has a 525-page instruction booklet. Okay. I don't read novels that are that big.
It's just pictures. You can get through the pages quickly.
It's true. And I did complain on the last one that it was like, and this one, you put these 2 bricks on. Next page. Okay, come on. You could put some of these pages together.
You got to group that together a little bit.
Yeah, you could put like 8 pieces together on one page.
Yeah, they could be like a quarter of the pages that you have here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I get that we're all collectors and we're all buying stuff and we're all buying the same stuff. Which is a product of not having KB and Toys R Us and stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Because now whatever Walmart and Target will carry is what they're going to make. And so you don't get a lot of experimentation. I mean, who would have, if it was today's world, who would ever have made Barnyard Commandos, Food Fighters, Visionaries, the Cowboys of Moo Mesa? I mean, some of that stuff would never have been made because Walmart would have looked at it and said, no. We're good, thanks. But
no, I definitely miss the Toys R Us days. I mean, I could just walk around that store for hours.
When I watch the guys who do their hunts up at the Toys R Us, I'm like, oh man, they have a lot of stuff. And then I look at the prices. I'm like, holy smoke! I thought we were getting pretty bad. And then the guys in Australia are like, oh well, that's nothing.
Yeah.
We pay $39 for a Black Series figure. What? No, crazy. I will not.
Yeah, those numbers are insane.
If you were allowed to leave your continent, you could go over and get them from the factory that's just north of you. But
I want to go over to the UK so we can hit up places like Smith's and stuff, and they just have everything.
Yeah. They had stuff we hadn't gotten yet.
Blows my mind. It makes me sick to see those shelves.
Everybody was the AEW figures or AWE, whichever that one is. Everybody was looking for those, and Mark goes, and there's like 4 waves of them, and like stripes. I'm like, oh my god, people are gonna freak out.
Tons
and
of them.
All the Black Series, and they were like 2 waves ahead of us in Transformers.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. Have you been hoarding these through that which must not be named? No,
they got lots. Yeah, it's insane to me, and I just don't understand why do we have all these exclusives, and why do we have so much trouble getting things distributed to us? I mean, they're American companies.
If you're Target and you are getting an exclusive, and they thought they were fixing the problem with the Clone Wars guys by shipping whole cases of them. But they weren't shipping a whole case of each 4. Like I know stores
The
who
whole
only
case
ever
of
got
just
Anakin.
one.
Yeah, they got 3 cases of Anakin. Well, that's great, but now I have to drive up to 88th and Sheridan to pick up the Echo because all they got was Echo.
Yeah, I've seen tons of Hawk and tons of Echo, but I've not seen ever a single Anakin or Obi-Wan up here.
Well, luckily,
Not in my area.
Brandon got them for me. He
Mhm.
found those 3 because all I ever found was Anakin. And so he found those for me. But if you're Target, you have, I think there's 2,000 stores in the United States. You need to get 24 of each of those exclusive to each of your stores. Now, if you have a high traffic store, maybe they get 24, and if you have a low traffic store, they get 12. But you should not get a case of 6 for a store that does $7 or $8 million worth of business.
Yeah, no,
they're
definitely not meeting the demand at all.
Yeah, which is weird because there for a while they were really working well with Funko and getting not too much, but about enough to cover what people were buying for all their exclusives and stuff. And so they were doing fairly well. And then they just G.I. Joe and Star Wars, especially Joe.
Then you have Walmart and Amazon double dipping by allowing third-party vendors to resell the stuff at marked up prices
to
on
order
their sites.
Walmart. Yeah.
And then they're going to get a portion of that.
Yeah.
Of that sale. So I'm sure that's part of the agreement. So they're basically, like I said, double dipping. They're getting the initial retail plus a little kickback on the resale later.
Well, it almost has to be because I lost my train of thought. Well, that AM tracked real well.
Well, and you would think that Hasbro and the companies that are producing the toys would be on that would do something that you think they would do something to try to restrict that type of behavior because they're not getting.
They got their money.
I know, and that's what makes no sense to me because they're leaving so much on the table. Though there's so many people that want to buy the product, yet they produce enough to meet maybe a quarter of the demand at best.
And then they openly tell you that, well, you're a Hasbro Pulse member. Well, I don't care.
Well, it does you no good.
We're going to ship everything to Target and Walmart first, and then we'll ship to you.
Mm-hmm.
Then don't put stuff on your website. If you want to be a toy seller, be a toy seller. If you're going to be a distributor, be a distributor.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try and be both because you're not going to, then they're like, oh, this pre-order sold out. How? It doesn't come out till next year.
Well, I think they thought they were cutting out the middleman, forgetting the fact that the middleman actually knew how to do the job.
Yeah.
That wasn't in their wheelhouse, and now they're trying to take it over, and they don't really understand how it works in order to really meet the demand like they once were.
Well, and I get that, I worked for KB for a lot of years and Toys R Us. And so I understand how the SKU system works and how it's hard for retailers to understand our mentality of buying a wave of something. Mm-hmm. So if a wave comes in a case, and if I was at KB, I would have probably only get 2 cases of something.
Yeah.
Well, now that's only enough for 2 people. Then I'm out, and I won't get those back for another couple of weeks. Mm. But when you got a 16 or 18 case of episode 1 figures that had 2 or 3 of each figure in it, and I got 5 cases of those, then I do have enough to keep my stock up for like a month.
Yeah.
But Black Series and stuff like that's what happened to us with Spawn. Spawn would come in and there'd only be 6 in a case or 8 in a case, and that was almost the entire wave with like a duplicate Spawn or duplicate somebody in it.
Just one.
People would just come in and buy the whole case and walk out.
Yeah,
that'd be it. And then we'd be like, "I'm sorry, yeah, I got 2 cases sold, and we're out." But no, I have not yet. Oh man, stupid Walmart! And I hate Walmart having exclusives because my Walmart's never put them out, especially the one next to me. Especially if they come in those big sitters that sit in the middle of the aisle. My Walmart will never get the shipper. There's a Walmart down the road from me in Hamden. They got the He-Man shipper. Mm-hmm. So it has all the figures. It has a
really big one, yeah.
The big one. I asked at the one near me, and they said, no, we're not getting that. Our store's too small for it. I said, well, when are you getting those figures? He said, I don't know. There's not a spot for them on the new setup.
Wow. So
So
if they had no room for the shipper, then they just didn't get the figs at all.
yeah, they just didn't get it at all. And that's nuts.
Yeah.
Then you need to make a smaller shipper that fits on an end cap for those stores.
Mm.
And or what they were doing with the new vintage figures where they were a side cap.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine and all, but you're not filling your aisles. Just most stores took them right out of that side cap and put them in their aisle to fill something in their aisle.
Mm-hmm.
But I keep getting pulled back to Star Wars. I keep saying that these aren't going to be about Star Wars anymore, and they always come back to Star Wars. Damn you, Lucas.
Did you watch the new Master of the Universe series?
I did.
Revelation? What'd you think?
I loved the animation.
Mm-hmm.
Skella Joker was okay.
So I'm not the only one that feels that way. Like that's all I heard was his Joker.
Yeah.
The entire time.
Yeah, and he did try to change it, but
wasn't
that's
enough.
all you can hear. That's all I hear.
Yeah.
I didn't like it, but I didn't like it because of story points. I didn't care about I don't care about the girl power Tila thing, whatever. I don't care. I don't like that Tila would have never made those decisions.
Yeah.
As a
she would have
base
just thrown
character,
everything away. Yeah.
Yeah, she wouldn't have thrown her life away, thrown her father away.
Yeah.
Her best friend, Prince Adam, has just been killed in front of her. She has a crush on He-Man, it's clear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I get that she feels betrayed, but for crying out loud, like she just found out that his own father didn't know. So who the hell is she that she has the right to be that upset about it?
Yeah.
You know,
she just
he was mad
away
but
from everybody.
Yeah.
So not only is Man at Arms, Randor goes nuts.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, you're horrible. You're the reason my son's dead. You're banished, and if you ever come back, I'm going to kill you. Okay? And now turns to his other Man at Arms, and she's like, you guys, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
All because, and I have a hard time explaining this to people, he was only He-Man for probably like 5 years. This hasn't been a 30-year thing.
Yeah.
Prince Adam is clearly in his mid-20s. So he only got
people that know are it's necessity or situational. It's not because they broadcast it to the world. How many of the other masters have no clue?
Yeah. Well, and that's they don't and I don't like Man at Arms walking away from everything too is not a character choice he would have made.
Yeah.
I don't care that the first wave of figures came out and they killed 3 of the 4 characters. In episode 1.
They sure
We're 15 minutes in.
Poor Moss Man.
Poor Moss Man. You have Alan Oppenberger come back you have Skeletor come back to do a voice, and you have him be Moss Man and is killed almost.
Light him right up. Yeah.
I was like, oh. But at least he got to come back in heaven.
Yeah, he did.
Sort of.
He had a second moment to shine.
The other thing I didn't understand was the technobabble crap.
All the stuff with like Triclops and his little cult.
Is that a horde thing?
Yeah,
Where did that science come from? Why did we just drop it? They're turning these people into Borgs.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about this?
Yeah.
One day Trapjaw's just like, wonder what this cup of black liquid is.
What? I don't know.
And why did Evil Lynn need Tila? She couldn't just pop in there and grab the thing and disappear?
Yeah, I don't know.
Clearly Evil Lynn, no matter how. I mean, even Tila.
It's part of the hero's journey. She needed Tila for the quest.
I know. Need to hurry up and do this hero's journey quick.
Yeah.
You think she's pissed about He-Man. Wait till she finds out she's the daughter of the sorceress.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Well, and I love how everyone keeps trying to tell her this, and she's like, no, we don't have time to talk about it. We don't have time to talk. It's like, well, look, see, that goes both ways, Tila. Okay? Yeah. Like, we didn't have time to tell you that Adam was He-Man, so get over it.
Calm down, Finn. We don't have time to talk. We'll get back later.
I know. And, I mean, I do understand how some people are a little frustrated by Tila's whole look of rebellion and everything with the half-shaved head and all that. I understand that when like, I don't know, teenagers feel like rebelling about something, then they mutilate their body or shave their head or whatever. But she's a full-grown woman. I don't see that she would have just gone to these extremes the way that they made her. I do feel like she was the logical choice to continue the story because she was the only character that really still had a story to tell.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was a way that they could have packaged that didn't feel like they were trying to either force an agenda or appease a group that isn't actually watching to begin with.
Well, and who was this show made for?
Yeah, that was my big question about it. It was like, who is it for kids? Is it for if I'm an adult that grew up watching, well, I am an adult that grew up watching He-Man, and if I sit down with my young child to continue that tradition of watching Masters of the Universe and introduce them to this new series, at the beginning you're going to think, okay, cool, it's He-Man, like it's kind of silly, Cringer's being a scaredy cat, and Orko's doing bad magic and making horrible jokes, and Adam's nowhere to be found, and Teela's asking where he is, and it was very much the traditional formula. And then all of a sudden Moss Man gets burned to ash, and He-Man and Skeletor become a black mark on the ground. And if I'm watching that with my 6-year-old, I'm going to question whether or not I want to continue. Then you go into the second episode, which opens with this little adventure that Teela has with her friend to steal this little holy relic back from Stinkor, and it was kind of funny that they had him in there and had Jason Mewes doing the voice, which kind of added to the joke if you knew who he was. But then they get back and they give this holy relic, this glove, to this priestess that hired them, and she's talking about how the villagers have lost faith because of this missing artifact and how she can't thank them enough for returning it. And the little sidekick proceeds to say, "No glove, no love." At that point, I'm not watching this anymore with my child. At that point, I'm questioning why I even began to watch it, and I'm very angry at Netflix and Kevin Smith for playing a trick on me. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I enjoyed the series, but that's because I'm a over 40-year-old man that is watching it because I used to watch it when I was a kid, and I want the story to be more mature.
Yeah.
But if I'm trying to share that experience with my child, it was very much just ruined within an episode and about 10 minutes of another. So I can understand why some people have beef with it.
Yeah. I mean, I get a lot of their points of view on it, because I did feel tricked by Kevin Smith as well.
Yeah.
But as a lot of people pointed out, it's not called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe anymore.
It's just Masters of the Universe.
Yeah. But where do you go from here? Because we've been told that you don't revert back to your old form unless you willingly give the power back. Skeletor's not going to do that.
No, but I do think, I don't think that He-Man is not going to be part of this story, or at least Adam. I suspect that maybe the sorceress may give her life to save Adam. But at this point, Adam doesn't have the power of Grayskull. So now we get to have an adventure where it's Teela and Adam, and Teela has to be the one to save Adam, as opposed to him saving her as He-Man. And I think it would also give us the opportunity for some pretty good story and character development between the two of them, and actually allow them to flesh out the grievance that Teela has with the character. I don't see him just dying there on the ground. I think Adam will survive somehow.
You'll get a Last Crusade moment where they do some magic-y something and it heals him.
Yeah.
Like the last of Evil Lynn's power.
Maybe something.
Because they're all like, "Oh, how could you go back to Skeletor?" Well, obviously, Teela, she's going back to be close to him so she can betray him.
Yeah.
She just had this huge, of all the people who had character arcs,
she had the best.
And Orko had the biggest character arcs.
Poor Orko. I mean,
as we've been told, no body, no death.
That's true.
So
that is true.
It would be interesting if when they went back, Orko was actually the new ruler of Hell.
Well, I mean, that could be very interesting. Yeah, he takes over for Scareglow.
Yeah.
That could be very, very interesting.
And in 5 episodes, have you ever seen anybody cram so many characters? Like the first 15 minutes of the first episode had like the first 8 waves.
It was a perpetual toy commercial, the whole thing. I mean, even like vehicles, play sets, everything. Like
that Eternia play set.
Yes. Yes.
I was like, wow.
So awesome.
That's a deep cut.
It really was.
It was crazy.
That got me super excited, I have to admit.
But
they even had the Wondar He-Man up there. Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah.
So and I can't appreciate that stuff and then say that I don't like the series.
Well, and it's not that I didn't like, I just didn't like the character choices. Again, it was story.
Yeah.
It came down to story, and I'm not actually sure I enjoyed Sarah Michelle Gellar as Tila.
Yeah, something about it just felt off to me. It didn't seem organic.
It was almost like she was using her Buffy voice.
Kind of, yeah. It didn't feel real.
Especially when Buffy would get all uppity and be like, how dare you? And
it's her indignant Buffy voice.
Her indignant Buffy voice. And it's like, geez, indignant Buffy.
No,
Angel, where are you? Spike? Anyone? Hello? Priscilla, are you here? Oh, look, there's Faith. Sweet.
But it was still good though. And I'm intrigued to see where they're going to go with it. And I did love the animation. It kind of took me back to the 2002 reboot that they did.
Yeah,
which
I like that series a lot. There's a lot to that.
Well, I mean, they actually told a story.
Yeah.
I mean, the original show didn't really tell a story. I mean, that in and of itself is a huge departure from the original show in the new one. But yeah, the 2000X, as they call it, series was just, to me, it was a master stroke as far as actually trying to bring some substance to the Masters of the Universe characters.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what the back 5 are like.
Yeah.
But honestly, I thought the first 5 moved too fast.
Yeah.
And they either could have cut some things out and cut it down to like a movie thing, or it needed to expand out to like 8 episodes.
Yeah.
I would have believed Tila's arc longer if they had not went from He-Man's dead, Prince Adam is dead, Adam is He-Man, I hate you, goodbye, to Prince Adam is He-Man is dead, Prince Adam is dead, and she has to deal with that for an episode or so before she decides to abandon everybody. Or if there would have been an in-between episode where she's wandering.
Yeah.
And,
kind of see her transition to becoming this.
Yeah, her hair's on her
person.
Her face, or it's blowing.
And then she cuts it off.
You know what?
Make it make sense. Exactly.
Yeah. Give me some reasons for her character choices.
That's just good storytelling.
Yeah. I didn't care that they changed her friend from the 2000 series. I didn't care that they changed Grayskull and made him black. Who cares?
Yeah, I didn't care about that.
How many thousands of years ago was that? Plus, it's not like he's related to Adam. He's just another He-Man.
He's just another hero that was given the power. So
which of course there seems to only be like 5 of. So there's only been 5 He-Men.
Yeah, I was like, do they live a really long time?
Yeah,
I was kind of curious about that myself.
That brings up the what exactly is a Master of the Universe?
Yeah.
Do they actually have any more powers? Because Skeletor was a wizard of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Does he need a sword and muscles?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is he able to focus that power now through his magic? Hopefully we'll get some backstory to that.
And see, my understanding was always that the Masters of the Universe were his crew, all the people that were fighting with Superman.
I thought it was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Man-at-Arms, Roboto.
Yeah, they were the Masters. Yeah, exactly.
They were the Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
And now it's just a title, that you can get by some watering
master of the
throwing
universe.
A sword at you.
Yeah.
Plus, now you can't have She-Ra drop by.
And I would like for them to bring that character in. I think that could be an interesting way to keep the story going.
But you can't and remember that's because the power sword had been split.
Yeah.
He-Man had one half and She-Ra had the other half. Well, now they went with the comic book version, that's how Skeletor and He-Man fought, and now they have them together. And that's how you get the power properly. But yeah, I don't know. It was okay. I'm waiting. I've seen it 3 times now,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't mind it each more time. Each other time I watch it, I don't mind it as much.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Solo. I don't think I'll ever get to a point where I actually like it, apart from the animation and stuff.
Yeah.
Until I see the back half.
Yeah.
And
It
that's
was good enough to intrigue me for what's to come, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I was confused that there were only 5 episodes. I don't even know when the next set of episodes hits.
I haven't heard anything either.
I think it's fall, which that
Hopefully.
seems like a far away time.
I mean, not really though. When you're thinking animation, well, I mean, the reality of it is it's all
The reality is
done
it's
anyway.
done, and they've probably already moved on to season 2 by now.
Yeah, they're just stretching it out anyway. So
that's what's confused me about the Transformers. I went in watching them, like, wait, there's only 6 of these?
Yeah.
Wow, this is a pretty. And those I do think could easily be cut down into one like hour-and-a-half movie, if that.
Absolutely.
And I like the second one more than the first one. The first one was just stupid. Because again, character choices. Prime would never do this stuff. Also the architecture.
Yeah.
Who was Cybertron made for? They walk into these hallways where they're the size of us.
Yeah.
And they're the size of Transformers. And it's like, who built this?
Yeah. It makes no sense. Yeah.
And they're not big enough for Omega Supreme to get in. But
well, I have my opinion on the final seasons. I won't give it.
Okay, I need to get to that because I do like the Beast Wars, and I liked the original Beast Wars. I really think they should go back, take the voice tracks, and reanimate all of Beast Wars, and it would do better now than it did then, of course, because I mean, come on, 1990s computer animation was pretty bad.
Yeah, but it was groundbreaking at the time, though.
Oh yeah, that and Reboot.
Yeah, I was just about to
was
say.
so groundbreaking for its time.
Yeah, now it looks terrible.
Yeah, now it just looks awful, and it's like, oh geez, it's like going back. I tried to go back and watch some Robotech the other day, and the animation is so bad in those old ones. It's like, oh yeah, oh dear. Oh well, I'll finish this episode. Yeah. Oh geez, we've been going for 3 hours. Let me know whenever you have to leave. I don't.
Oh wow, we are at 3 hours.
I do need to get some supper at some point, but
just whenever, man. Just let me know.
You know what we need to do? I don't think anybody's still here, really. It says there's 9 people, but what I need to do is what was supposed to have been done Saturday on the Peg Warmers, which is a drawing for members for the first figure giveaway. And what won the pool was a Amazon exclusive Jawa.
Oh, nice.
It's never been out of its little shipper box. And I assume this is the one with the plastic cape.
Yeah.
But it might be the cloth cape one. Oh, no, it's cloth.
It is cloth.
So let me pull me up here real quick. So this is this month's figure giveaway. And so we will go, there we go. We're going to do the normal sleeping wheel of death to see who wins. Let's see, click to spin. Oh, I have to click on the thing. That's the one thing I hate, that every time I do something like this and I forget I have to open the other window to make it do anything. There we
Technology, go. Man.
Tricks me.
To go.
Oh, fabulous.
Oh, fabulous.
You are out. All right, next up.
Got to get that monkey lizard off of there. Where is it? Come on, there we go.
There we go.
Oh, I actually called it. Wow.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Salacious.
Josh is in cahoots with the wheel. Wow.
I feel almost responsible.
Autobot Trash Talker, looks like you're going down next.
Oh,
sorry, my brother.
Like, it's so disappointing, but it's oddly exciting to watch these.
Yeah.
It's very thrilling.
John.
Oh, John.
You were actually still listening. and now you know you're out. Watch Sleeping will win. He's rigged the wheel, everyone.
Yeah, the
Oh,
wheel.
Oh no, I
jinxed him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, Sleeping.
Sorry, Sleeping. I'm not going to talk about any, and I'm in G-forces. In the, I'm not going to. Well, it won't matter in a second. Oh, there we go.
No,
Gilster, you're out. I am not going to shuffle because every time Sleeping shuffles, the next person removed is G-force.
That pisses G-force off so bad.
It does. So I'm not going to do that.
Oh,
and
no.
It doesn't matter anyway. The wheel heard me talk about
exactly. If you mention a person, the wheel gets them next every time.
Well, I actually do have something else to send to Mark over in England, so we'll see. All right, Mark and Brandon, down to you guys. Brandon is out. Mark is our winner for August figure giveaway.
You're my boy, Blue.
Mark, I actually do have something else to send you that was supposed to be in your other box, but I forgot. So I will get this off to you probably this Friday, and your other item, and then I'll see. I'm gonna see if I can't find you a few more of these when I'm out and about Thursday. I know you need those for your set. So
shipping overseas is so rough right now.
It's crazy.
It makes no sense.
I sent him a box that had a NECA figure, one of those Batarangs, and a Black Series figure, and one little die-cast car, and it was $60. And it was like this.
That makes
I sent Salacious an 8-pound box of goodies.
It was a lot of candy and stuff in that box.
Well, every time I'd go, I'd be like, "Oh, and I'll pick this up." And then once it all got together, I was like, "Oh, wow, that's quite a lot."
I'm just glad you sent him some Funyuns.
Oh man, Mark says he can get Funyuns over there through Amazon or something.
Yeah, that's what he was
saying.
So
he might have to get some, but yeah, I can't wait to see that video with Rum's Space Mom, Earth Mom. And his staff dad. That'll be awesome. Must be coming any day now. So, but
little Salacious had some issues earlier today during our stream.
I can't wait to watch that tomorrow.
He had a little bit of a technical problem. You'll see what I'm talking about. Poor guy. Pilly Yum Yum had to step in and take over.
Oh, well, Rum had a big weekend. He was
he did
all the time, and so. Could have been worse. I guess Randy could have stepped in. Would have been a shorter conversation.
Just looking all mortified. Poor Randy. That guy's seen some things.
Oh man, I don't want to know. I mean, there's parts of Jabba you don't want to get near, and I think Randy's seen it all.
Yeah, he's been pushed through the ringer a few times. His poor skin looks so gray.
Yes.
Yes. It's very true.
No.
The wheel will get you. She's a fickle beast.
Hey, nerd, what's up?
Hey.
Yeah, Randy has seen too much. He's a poor guy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on, Josh. This has been excellent.
Oh, yeah, anytime. I'm happy.
You're welcome anytime to come on. And
thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
We'll try to be a little more structured. But that's really not how it works.
I like just hanging out and chatting for a while. I mean, we talked about a lot of things.
Well, like I tell most everybody, this is the closest thing to going to cons we get to do.
Yeah,
this is the best part of cons, is just sitting around and talking to people. Sure, the costumes are great and the dealer's room's cool, and meeting people from the Mandalorian is cool, but we have most of our best times either sitting in the room or sitting in the lobby just bullshitting with people. New people,
just connecting with random people you've never met, and just hear them say something, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I know that."
And you're like, "You know what? You want to come up for a beer? We're just going to go up and grab some. We've got beer in the room. You don't need to pay for beer." And then it's a couple hours later, we're all wandering around the hallways trying to find where the Klingons are having their party this year, and it's the Klingons who make it's. Like the big barrels you would dip for apples in.
Yeah,
they make a Klingon blood wine a big container like that. I don't know what's in it.
Punch.
I don't want to know. It's delicious.
It gets the job done.
Gets the job done pretty quick. And they move the furniture out of the room and stuff. So there's tons of space to talk, and
nice.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I miss cons.
It's hopefully next year.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't know. They keep threatening to try to start locking things down again, and I don't know.
I don't think that's going to go.
Yeah, I don't think it will.
There are going to be like 8 or 9 states that are like, "Nah, we're good. Thanks." Colorado might, because our governor tends to do whatever either the Democratic Party tells him to do or whatever California does.
Yeah, that's how it is here in Washington too. California sets the standard. California and Oregon, basically make up our rules for us. So
you can't let those nuts keep moving north.
I know, man.
There needs to be some sort of barrier.
We thought the volcanoes would be enough to stop them, and it wasn't.
They're not as useful as they used to be.
And I think the truth has gotten.
Oregon was getting all uppity, and we were like, Mount St. Helens, boom.
Yeah, I know. Just take them out, please.
Take them out.
Yeah. I think too many people have found out it doesn't rain up here as much as they thought. So, it's beautiful up here in Washington. I love living here. I've been here now for 7 years, and I don't miss the East Coast at all. Don't miss the humidity. I have considered moving out to Colorado a few times, though. There have been a few openings that have popped up.
I love it here. I've been here 40 years now. And, we have around this time, we generally have about 6 weeks of summer. And by summer, I mean it's 85 to 98. And it's off and on like that through like middle of August. They'll start cooling off. We don't get as much snow as people think we do down here. Just like, you guys don't get as much rain as TV tells us.
Yeah.
But they'll talk about snow in Denver and stuff when they really mean the foothills and the mountains.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's not snowing here. My grandparents used to call all the time. Oh, they say they're getting a foot of snow in Colorado. Well, yeah, that's Breckenridge. That's 3 hours up the road.
Well, since your summers are pretty mild, do you guys still have air conditioning though in your homes?
Oh yeah, most places have adapted to air conditioning. When I first moved here in the 80s, almost nobody had air conditioning.
Yeah. Simply
because we weren't as big of a heat sink as we are now. I'd say the city has almost doubled in size since I moved here. So have I.
Sorry, we're working on that, man.
Yeah, we're working on that. That'll my new schedule is going to be easier because I won't have time to cook and eat. So I'll just have protein stuff, and I got to get the protein pancake things that Dino was talking about.
Yeah.
But so now we're more of a heat sink. So it is hotter here than it used to be. But as long as if all you have to do is go out about a mile outside of the city and it's normal again. So a lot of people have started getting AC simply because now in the city, it gets to about anywhere from up to 100.
Yeah.
Randomly throughout the summer. But, apart from that, we're mild. We have, I think, 320 days of sunny days a year. About once a year, we get a really good snowstorm that may or may not shut parts of the city down. But mostly, we just get an inch or two at a time. South Park's not too far off.
Yeah.
During our winters, we might get just enough snow for it to be on the grass, but not anywhere else. And that might last a couple weeks. Or we'll get like 6 inches of snow overnight, and it'll be 58 by noon, and it'll all melt.
Yeah.
So I do like around here. I have some family who live in Oregon and Washington, and they love it.
Yeah, it's great. Now I will say that we've had some heat here lately that made it rough not having AC like we did.
Yeah, that bubble you guys were, and then in like Canada, and it was 120 in Canada.
They're saying we may have another wave come through here soon.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah.
Damn you, La Nina.
For sure. Hey, global warming is a myth. It's all man, bear, pig's fault.
Damn bear, man, pig. But yeah, so no, I was looking at that, and it's crazy. And of course, then it just dries stuff out, and you get those forest fires. And your state is a forest. It's hard
Oh
to,
yeah.
hard to knock that off.
Oh,
You need
there's
to stop
signs
that.
everywhere on the road that's like, don't flick your cigarette butt out of your car. You could be the one to start the next wildfire.
Yeah. And you guys need to stop that shit because we can't breathe.
It gets rough up here.
Yeah, it's
terrible.
That smoke has finally gotten to us, and now we have a couple fires here that are blowing directly at the city. And so we literally have a haze most of the time now. And they say you really shouldn't be outside for great lengths of time. If you're outside for more than an hour or two, it's like smoking 2 cigarettes.
Wow.
And it's like, well, 2, I can do that.
Oh, the rough part about it up here is, like, when it happens, it's hot outside, and the only way that we can cool off is to open a window and put a fan in the window. And we can't really do that if it's going to just blow smoke and ash in on us. So, yeah, it makes it pretty miserable.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Left Coast. That sucks. Yeah, I mean, and I was reading all that. They were losing people left and right in Washington and Oregon and Canada. And then they were like the day after that, there was a city in Canada that had like 121 degrees. And then the next day, like 3 people died. And then the next day, a fire came through and took out 80% of the town.
Jeez.
Like, man, what did you guys do?
I know, right? You definitely pissed off somebody. So you're a target.
Canada doesn't usually make people pissed.
Karma is mad. What's that all about? Hey, buddy. It's the floppy heads. That's what it is.
Don't call me buddy, pal. Don't call me pal, friend.
Not your friend, guy.
Not your friend, guy. That reminds me, I'm going to have to go watch that episode.
Yeah, well, I am totally on that tonight.
All right. I'll talk to you later, bud. And,
all right, buddy.
For everybody who stuck us out for 3 hours,
it's good times.
Someday we'll, yes, that was it. That's the town that got to like 121, 122, and then burned down 2 days later. It was crazy.
That's crazy.
But all right. Well, again, we're gonna try and leave again.
All right.
So this time I'm pushing the end broadcast button. So everybody have a good night. I'll catch you on the flip side.
Everybody.